for this thing move so I could actually play it? There we go.
Yeah, can you hear it?
Uh-huh.
I'm not hearing it.
Approximately 11:47 p.m., Beverly Hills Police dispatcher Christina Nye received a 911 call at the police station. On the line was Lyle Menendez, who sounded hysterical.
Emergency? Yes, please. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? Someone killed my parents. Pardon me?
It will be your job to decide what kind of killing this is. That depends on what you come to believe was the reason for the act. The only question in this case is, why did these killings occur? There is no issue as to who killed Jose and Mary Louise Menendez. Why they were killed is what the focus of all of our evidence is.
This week, nearly 20 members of both sides of the Menendez brothers' family came out in full force in front of dozens of cameras to emotionally plea for their release.
This is about truth, justice, and healing.
I never thought this day would come. It's time to give them the opportunity to live the rest of their lives free from the shadow of their past.
They were boys, young, scared, and abused by their father in ways no child should ever experience.
It is time for Erik and Lyle to come home.
Bias that because we were dealing with males and in an incest family, that there's sort of perceptions that, well, maybe it was something that he wanted, something that he allowed to happen, that he shouldn't be allowed to feel afraid because he's a male.
It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. I never know when it's going to happen, and it's driving me crazy. Every night, I stay up thinking he might come in. I need to put it out of my mind.
Also included in the petition, a signed affidavit by Roy Rosello, a former member of the boy band Menudo. He claims that he too was raped by Jose Menendez, who at the time was an executive with RCA Records.
You've done something that I thought nobody would really know about outside of the prison system. And it's called the Green Spaces Project. Can you talk about that for a second?
Find yourself getting into trouble or just doing nothing productive with your time. And I just wanted to do something more than that. And so I wanted to try to see if I could be part of this movement, this solution to rehabilitate prisoners. It started about 15 years ago, California Corrections, and I think the whole country realized that this sort of punishment model of corrections, treating prisoners as simply just punishment, was just causing prisoners to parole, commit more crimes, not adjust to society, come right back. So both the taxpayer and just sort of criminal rights groups just felt like, and even the victims' rights groups felt like we have to do something different. So they started education programs and classroom programs to try to change guys' lives so that they can become better neighbors and succeed. And the problem was that the prisoners were struggling, and my lived experience here, I found that one of the reasons they were struggling is that their physical living environment was sending them a very opposite message. The way they had constructed these prisons and the yards was so harsh and oppressive that it was sending them a message that they were irredeemable, and these classroom lessons were not really real, and they shouldn't buy into that. So I got together, formed a group, and asked the governor's office and the warden if we could get permission to redesign a prison yard so that it reflected that rehabilitative mission, turn it into an actual community space through installing grass and trees and outside classroom areas and walkways, and not to make the prison more fun and more less a sentence, but to create a sense of community so that prisoners could learn to function in a sense of community, almost like a campus, and they might be more open to changing their life.
It's my fault. And I got him involved and said, I need your help. And then 5 days later, my parents were dead.
So it's your fault.
That's completely my fault. He was suicidal at the time, and it was just the last thing to reach out to. And obviously, who was going to reach out to? And I decided to confront my father rather than just sort of not say anything and just have Erik and I leave, which if I could go back, that's what I would do. I would just say, Erik's old enough now, he wants to leave.
Have you forgiven yourself?
I don't think it's possible. About this case.
There are some who argue that the sex abuse was fabricated.
Sure they do. They don't want to admit the truth.
People might have seen this case very differently if it were a sister that I was protecting or that was involved in this and not a brother.
Well, okay, here we go. Hey guys, it's Fancy,
And Mac.
and you're watching the Good Vibes Network. Okay, guys,
So
so
shout out real quick to Marcy with the IE
yes.
and not an AY for the super chat. We appreciate you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so very much. We love it. So tonight we're going to be continuing our conversation about the Menendez brothers. I don't think the rest of our panel is going to be here tonight, so it's just going to be me and Mac. But today hey Celeste. But today they held a press conference. The DA's office in Los Angeles County, in conjunction with the post relief conviction team and the what's the other one? Conviction integrity unit, both designed to make sure that we are properly assessing cases, that the cases are being fairly given the correct sentences. Hey, Reagan Pagan.
Hey, Reagan Pagan.
So it's all in that. LA County is one of the ones that has this. Now it's not everywhere. We're hoping and pushing for that. We're also going to put up our live from earlier today where we had Amy Ray Davis, who is a law professor, who came on and kind of gave us some insight into the what the press conference meant. Some of the things that we discussed were, what does this look like for them? Why this is a much better path than perhaps the habeas corpus that they were trying to file, which would have taken more time. And for you guys to know what a habeas corpus is, the purpose of the habeas corpus defense is to challenge the legality of an individual's detention or imprisonment. It's a procedural method that allows a prisoner or detainee to appear before a court to determine if their detention is lawful. A lot of times it is used as a ineffective assistance of counsel filing, but there's a lot of different reasons that this can be used. And basically, it's to state that they are being held unlawfully for the crime that they have committed in any way. And it goes through the court system. It would have taken them through probably a whole nother trial for the habeas corpus, and it could be a very lengthy process. So the post-conviction relief and the conviction integrity unit went through what I would call a fast track. And so I'm going to play for you guys the actual little press conference. It has the DA who is talking, and then a couple members of the conviction integrity unit come up, and then a couple family members, I believe, speak. Thank you, the best wife. You are so amazing. Appreciate you. Appreciate you very much.
She fits right in. We're the good wives, and she's
the best wife. Yeah, like there you go. I like that. I like that very much. I was thinking the same thing. So this is this conviction integrity unit. It's a newer concept that they are rolling out, and it basically gives a DA the ability to right the wrongs that possibly his predecessors did. So um you know, that's basically what this is trying to help, is right wrongs of the predecessor that would have been to this DA at the time that the boys were sentenced, and they were boys at that time. You know, young men, but in my opinion, I think, you know, 21 and 19 is boys. I'm sorry, especially with boys. They don't develop, you know, mature as fast as girls, you know, and women at that period of time. And I think that them being men heavily changed the course of this trial and the belief system around the abuse or non-abuse of these two boys. And we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. Mac has done some incredible research. I did want to show you one quick little trivia thing that my husband showed me.
Oh, yeah, I want to see that.
Okay, let's see. Hold on. I got to zoom it out here. All right. So
you're sweet, Reagan.
If I can bring it down. So this is a card from 1990 to 1991. This is the Mark Jackson Nix Menendez brothers. And if you look right here,
there they sit.
There they sit. They are actually on the freaking baseball card. Basketball card. Yeah. Sorry. Basketball card.
Yeah.
And my husband told me about it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. No way. Well, he found it so I could show you guys. And 4 have been sold in the last 24 hours. Go figure. Interesting. I'm sure if you have this one, it's going to go through the roof right now with everything that's going on.
Said her husband has that card too.
Oh, he has the card? Oh my God. I bet you that card is going to go through the roof.
It might.
I'm telling you, that is going to go. It's going to be very popular. Some young chippy is going to want to buy it. Like some little girl.
Sure somebody will. They might. I don't know, because this case has really affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are now just learning about it because, you know, we were in high school when it happened.
Yeah,
I think I was a senior when this happened. So a lot of people younger than us.
I was a sophomore. Yeah.
Are probably, you know, hearing this. Yeah.
For the first time. A lot of the younger generation is hearing this for the first time. And I have to give it to the TikTok true crime community on this. They started talking about the Menendez brothers late last year. I saw an uptick in the different, you know, people sharing, hey, what about the Menendez brothers? Hey, this trial bothered me. I watched the trial and I thought it was horrible. And I think that's one of the trials that I would like to analyze, to sit down and play and analyze it for you guys, because
it's hard.
It was
very hard. That's what I did most of today. And I'm telling you what, there were so many times I had to stop because I started crying. I'm not even kidding.
Do you have those clips that you pulled, or do you just have them marked or something, or did you pull clips
today?
Yeah.
I didn't do any clips. No.
You didn't pull the clips. Okay. So we should.
You have most of the clips that I thought were important, but
right. And I put those in the opener.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from the trial, I think we should pull some of the ones that you're going to talk about, and we'll put them out there, you know, just in portions.
It was just so hard. Just so
very hard. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can see them physically shaking, and they're crying, and you can see how they're reliving it, you know, while they're up there. It's like, there's no way. Like I said, as soon as I saw them and I saw them testifying like that, I believed them. I believe them. There was just no doubt in my mind. Everything said, yes, this is happening. Their body language, their words, it was just, Oh,
Yeah.
it's really a tough watch, this trial.
Yeah.
It really, really is. Like, get prepared, people.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah. You know, and I definitely agree with you. It's not for the faint of heart. And I think that the first two juries were right in hanging. I mean, seriously, I think that, and we talked about this the other night, the numbers on the hanging of that jury, those two juries, you know. Oh, I wanted to look up something. That was what I wanted to look up. Did the second trial.
Once you start learning about it, Celeste, you're gonna want to keep learning about it. Like, what in the world? Because it's gonna, especially you being a mom and everything, it blows your mind. It blows your mind. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they should have done what they did.
Okay.
I can see why they did what they did, but I do think
Oh
some
my
people
gosh.
should not be on this earth anymore.
Amy, we really did have the timeline a little skewed. So 8 days after Simpson's acquittal, opening arguments began in Erik and Lyle's second trial.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That was right after OJ?
8 days.
Wow.
8 days. And the judge had changed the rules. Both brothers were tried together before a single jury, and the abuse evidence was deemed inadmissible, and manslaughter was no longer even an option.
There you go.
So it was first degree or second degree or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to play the press conference. So if you see on the screen right now, this is Mike Garagos. This is the attorney that's been representing them. And this right here is the DA.
At Ron C, real quick. I'm on the side of them being allowed to come out only because I've seen the work that they've done on themselves and the advocacy that they're doing from even inside prison right now. I don't see them coming out like someone like Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I feel like they'll come out and actually be okay in society and probably be a nice addition, because I think they're going to still continue to do their advocacy work when they come out. You know,
and
it's important what they're doing too. It's important.
And the DA even touches on this in his press conference. And I said this earlier, I said this yesterday, in fact, was that, okay, so the difference between the first and second trial is the first trial was 2 juries. So separate trials held at the same time is basically what that is. Okay. They were separated. They were not the same. They were not held as a trial together. It was a separate trial for each, for Kitty and for Jose, and for the conspiracy. In that they had the options of first degree, second degree, and manslaughter. And the abuse was presented as a motivation. Okay. And the juries were pretty much split. Both juries split 6 and 6. It was 6 to give first degree murder, a couple that wanted murder 2, and a couple that wanted manslaughter. They could not come to a decision, and so they both hung. Then the prosecution decided to proceed with a second trial. This trial, as I said, was 1 jury for both brothers, and they were tried together. So their cases were rejoined. And the manslaughter option was taken off the table, which makes a huge difference in all of this.
Really big difference.
And the abuse was not allowed to be showed at all as a motivation. So it really tied the hands of those jurors in what they could or could not do. And if they had been convicted on either murder 2 or manslaughter, they would be out of prison today. They would have already been out of prison for quite a long time. So I just want you guys to think about that going into this, because in 1989, when the crime happened, and in, the time period that they had these trials. Like we just said, the second one also was being influenced by the loss that they had just had on O.J. Simpson. And so they had to make an example of these two men. And I think that was part of the motivating factor. I think that they were having a lot of bad press around them for the riots and the Rodney King stuff and all of that had happened.
But that's the whole thing. I wasn't even about having them walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You still took 2 lives. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I get why. Right. Believe me, I get why. But because of the law, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
But OJ got to walk.
Yeah.
These two, they don't get parole. Nothing. They go for life.
And they were 19 and 21 at the time that they got convicted. 18 and 20 when it happened, I mean, I think they were 18 and 21. The DA says 19 and 21, but I did the math and looked at Erik's birthday, and I think he was only 18 for 6 months. He was not 19.
I agree, Ron C, with the women. They killed their abusers and they're still in jail. I get
agree.
I get that.
And this is part of the prison reform that I believe should be seen.
Yeah, 18 and 21.
And with that, the prison reform,
right, Becky.
There's an advocate supposedly out here on a prison reform platform that knows nothing about this case. And can't even stand up. She's invited to a freaking college, for Christ's sake.
And sit on that stage to talk about prison reform.
Yeah.
And doesn't even know about this case.
Right. Like, how are you going to do that? Even Kim K spoke out about this already.
Tell me where she's reforming.
I nowhere.
Where is she I want to know.
Nothing.
And why
is she reforming her new cute Lululemon pants? Is that what she's reforming? And I've been asked the question about this of, well, what's going to stop the brothers from coming out at this time and being influencers and having books and deals and all that? And there's a difference, because I don't think these two men are going to be sitting up on social media battling with Jeffree fucking Star,
not at
asking
all.
people to send her $100,000 in a fucking 5-minute time frame.
No. They're not going to be making GoFundMes, and they're not going to be, they may do interviews
for sure,
but I don't think it's going to be like
right. And
they're not going to be influencers. I really do not see that happening.
I do believe if they are advocating and they are sharing the story and advocating for prison reform and justice reform, they should absolutely 100% be paid for that. They are doing a job. That is a job. They are doing it as an advocate. They are advocating for others, and they should be paid. Should Gypsy Rose be being paid because she wants to sit up here and, talk about baby food and humiliate the men that are in her life?
She's taking pictures on her knees and feeding baby food to Ken.
Right. Like,
that's what she's doing. Is that your advocacy and reform? I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Exactly.
These guys are actually advocating from inside their prison. They've actually done all kinds of serious work on their mental health, emotional, spiritual, everything. I mean, they've really done something. And if you ask me, they're miracles. They're miracles to still be okay upstairs with everything that happened to them.
For sure. And they were advocating behind bars with no payoff. There was no, if we do this stuff behind bars, let me say it like this. Let me put myself up here and say it like this.
Yeah.
Everything that I have done in these 4 walls for the last 8 years has been for parole. That's not what they were doing. They had no possibility of parole, and they still went to school. They still advocated. They set up programs for other inmates to help them transition by getting back out and helping them to not end up being repeat offenders. They put all kinds of other things into place. They've gotten married. They've had a life, and they had no possibility of ever getting out based on the law that convicted them the first time, or the second time, really, but
second time.
And so she had an incentive to be a better person, to put herself through freaking therapy, to do something good for others while she was in there, such as Pam Smart. Same thing. Pam Smart is, she got a master's degree. She's done all this advocacy work to help other women leave prison and do better. And she has no chance of parole. None. So you've got these people that are inside for life with no chance of anything.
Yeah, I
doing
agree.
Such outrageous amounts of good and advocacy, and then you've got gypshit over here running around talking about how don't call me an advocate, but I'm an advocate, but don't call me an advocate, but I'm an advocate, but don't call me an advocate. But wait a minute, I'm an advocate. Like, she's changed her stance on just being an advocate more times than my head can.
3 times in the past 3 months.
Like, my head can't spin fast enough.
No,
with her changing whether she's an advocate or not a fucking advocate.
And I'm not saying I'm not sitting up here saying that I think they should have got away with what they did. That is not what I'm saying. They definitely should have. But I do feel like they've had time served, is what I'm saying.
I do. And Ron, I see where you're coming from with that, but I'm going to tell you what. Shooting your parents with a long rifle is nowhere near carving her dead body up.
Yeah.
And brutally slaying your mother, who did not abuse you, who did everything for you, who gave you an epic fucking life, sacrificed her entire life for you. And then to add insult to injury, you come out of prison
and still villainize her.
And you hit the ground running, villainizing her. Right, Mac, exactly. These kids, Mac's going to share some things tonight that I didn't know about their abuse.
I didn't know. No.
I did not know how extensive this was. And again, you also have to remember that, let's just say they walked away. Like they said to Barbara Walters in the clip that I showed you guys, that they both believed that even if they walked away from all the money, all the everything, and went and just became servers, did they believe that their parents would come and kill them? And the answer was absolutely. They had been threatened that weekend. They had had an argument, and a whole, row of things happened that day. I think they bought the firearms as protection. There was not a 10-day waiting period on long firearms like that for pew-pews that are, or guns that are handguns. Absolutely there was, but they went with the long shotguns because they really did believe their lives were in danger. And that's the difference. Gypsy was at no time in imminent danger. None. Not once.
She was
not once.
Dee Dee was no threat to her. She was bedbound, for crying out loud.
Right. Right.
She was not going to get up and go chase that girl. I'm telling you.
And not to mention, she told her to go. Just ask her. I mean, so there was no imminent danger. That is my problem. And I have said it as their PR. If they had been honest with me and really said, look, we went with the Munchausen by proxy story so that we could get her plea deal because, we don't think what she did, what Dee Dee did to her went well beyond just Munchausen by proxy and blah, blah, blah. And this is what happened. And I really made a mistake and I don't know what to do, Fancy. And I told them, I didn't care what the story was, good, bad, ugly. I would help them tell it in a way that was ethical, as well as to try and make it be the best possible light for Gypsy to get out of prison, and come out into society, because that's what a good PR does. They don't lie for you. They make the truth acceptable.
More palatable.
And I could have done that for them. If she had come out humble and I made a mistake, I should have never killed my mother. I know that. I don't know what I was thinking. I am so sorry. And to my mother, who did everything for me and really did love me, and I just didn't understand why you did the things you did to do this. I am sorry, Mom. If that had been the story, I would have easily been able to sell the story and break it in a way that they would have still been looked at in a positive light. But instead, They chose the path of lies. They chose
See,
the path of unbelievable lies.
I'm trying
And
to
that's
be
ridiculous.
I'm trying to be calm.
Ron C.
Because okay, hang on. Okay. I don't know understand why you see it that way, because she absolutely did kill her
Yeah,
mother,
she absolutely did kill her mother.
because none of it would have happened without her.
She put she put the knife in his hand. She planned it for 3 years. She stole the knife or purchased it. I don't know which one at this point. She put the whole plan together. She had planned the escape route. She had planned the entire story that they were going to do. And to be honest with you, there is no evidence that she did not stick a knife in her mother. I'm
No,
sorry.
I think she was in the room for sure.
I think she was in the room. I think she did part of it.
She had bruises on her knuckles. I mean, what
Yep.
is that from? And on the knuckles that they were on, I mean, you got a pro sitting up here with fancy. So
Ron, I'm going to tell you what, the evidence does not support that Nicholas did this by himself.
No.
And I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, so but the point being, the Menendez were actually being very horribly SA'd, physically abused, you name it,
And
weapons were used.
their mother was participating.
Yes.
And that day, as Amy and I are going to talk about, that day, she told them she had always known and she didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to play the press conference now for you guys. Let's put it up here like this. Put this up here. All right.
Yeah, Ron, the mom, yeah, she already told you. We'll fill you in though. You'll get it. You'll get it a little bit better.
Let me know if you guys can hear it once he starts talking.
Okay. The Barney doll was just.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And
before can you hear it, Mac? Okay, good.
Begin speaking, I want to also introduce some other people that are here with me, and I hope I'm pronouncing the names right because I've seen handwritten part of it. But I have Ana Maria Barat, Jose Menendez, Jose Menendez, and niece Karen Vandermolen, and Katie's niece. They're all here with us. Also with us here is Brock Lunsford. He's the assistant head deputy for the post-litigation conviction unit, and Nancy Cervier, who is the deputy district attorney in charge of the resentencing unit. Let me begin by telling you that this is a case where we've had many people in this office spend a great deal of time reviewing the case. I have to tell you unequivocally that we don't have a universal agreement. There are people in the office that strongly believe that the Menendez brothers should stay in prison the rest of their life. And they do not believe that they were molested. And there are people in the office that strongly believe that they should be released immediately and that they were in fact molested. I have to tell you that after a very careful review of all the arguments that were made for people on both sides of this equation, I came to a place where I believe that under the law, resentencing is appropriate, and I am going to recommend that to a court tomorrow. What that means in this particular case is that we're going to recommend to the court that the life without the possibility of parole be removed and that they will be sentenced for murder, which, because there are 2 murders involved, that will be 50 years to life. However, because of their age, under the law, since they were under 26 years of age at the time that these crimes occurred, they will be eligible for parole immediately. The teams that have worked on this, on the resentencing side of it, have spent literally probably hundreds of hours by now looking at this case. These cases were originally presented on the habeas side of it which I'll explain in a moment what that is, last year, and then the request for a prosecutor-initiated resentencing occurred earlier this year. And there have been people in this office working in these cases from the very beginning, as well as many other cases that we have. The reason why I'm here today and why I came in front of all of you about 10 days ago is because there was a more recent documentary about the case that again brought a tremendous amount of public attention. And we know there have been other documentaries, so this is not the first, this is a more recent one. And frankly, our office got flooded with requests for information. And even though this case was already scheduled to be heard in late November, I decided to move this forward because, quite frankly, we did not have enough resources to handle all the requests. And one of the things that I thrive to do in this office is to be very transparent in everything that we do. In this case, we review the prison files. You have to understand that the way the process works when you're talking about a resentencing under the law, it really focuses not necessarily on what the original crimes were, but it focuses on, has the person been rehabilitated, number one, and number two, can they be released safely into the community? Under that rubric, since I've been in office, we have resentenced over 300 people, including 28 for murder. Only 4 have reoffended. If that was a regular recidivism rate in this country, we would be the safest nation in the world, but we know that it's not. In fact, somewhere between 40 and 50% of the people that go to prison reoffend and get rearrested. And that's why we have so many problems. However, when you look at the case of the Menendez brothers, you see 2 very young people. One was 19 and the other was 21 when they committed this horrible acts. And I want to underline, they were horrible acts. There is no excuse for murder. And I will never imply that what we're doing here is to excuse that behavior. Because even if you get abused, the right path is to call the police, seek help. But I understand also how sometimes people get desperate. We often see women, for instance, that have been battered for years, and sometimes they will murder their abuser out of desperation. And I do believe that the brothers were subjected to a tremendous amount of dysfunction in the home and molestation. But they went to prison for life without the possibility of parole, which meant that certainly under the law at that time, they had no hopes of ever getting out. They could have done what many other people do, which is basically said, you know what, I'm here for the rest of my life, so I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to misbehave, I'm going to join gangs, I'm going to live the life of the person. But they never did that. To the contrary, even though they didn't think that they would ever be left free, they engaged in a different journey. A journey of redemption and a journey of rehabilitation. And often the people that begin their journey of rehabilitation and redemption in prison is often very internal. And what they do, and one of our lawyers pointed out this today, is usually the path is people try to further their education, do things for self-improvement, which the brothers have done, by the way. But it's more unique or less usual, I guess, when people not only do that, but they also begin to engage in ways to make life for others better. And in this case, the brothers have been doing so for a very long time, creating groups to deal with how to address untreated trauma, creating groups to deal with other inmates that have physical disabilities and may be treated differently. Even in one case, Lyle negotiating for other inmates as to the conditions that they live under during prison. And all this was done by two young people, now they're not as young, that had no hopes of ever getting out of prison. They have been in prison for nearly 35 years. I believe that they have paid their debt to society, and the system provides a vehicle for their case to be reviewed by a parole board, and if the parole concurs with my assessment, and it will be their decision, they will be released accordingly. I must underline, however, this case will be filed in court tomorrow. The final decision will be made by the judge. Court has to agree with my conclusion that they deserve to be resentenced. It is very possible that there may be members of this office that will be present in court opposing the resentencing. And they have a right to do so. And we encourage those that disagree with us to speak, and the court is the appropriate place to do it. We certainly feel we're very sure not only that the brothers have rehabilitated and that they will be safe to be reintegrated in our society, but that they have paid their dues, not only for the crimes that they committed, but because of all the other things they have done to improve the life of so many others. So again, we will be filing for resentencing tomorrow. We're seeking that they would be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole, as opposed to life without the possibility of parole, which is they currently have. That means that they would have 50 years to life because there were two murders. But because of the age upon which they were convicted, under 26, under current law, that means they're eligible for youthful parole. I think there is also important to have some introspection today, because I think that often, for cultural reasons, we don't believe victims of sexual assault, whether they're women, whether they're men. We saw in our first trial, which, by the way, they were tried twice. The first trial hung, meaning the jury could not come to a conclusion, and in fact, about half of the jury wanted to convict them of manslaughter, which, if that were have been the case, they would have been off prison a long time ago. And then there was a second trial, and then they were convicted of murder with special circumstances, which led to the life without the possibility of parole. But it's salient to understand that our own implicit and sometimes explicit bias around sexual abuse and sexual assaults often leads us to severe injustices in our community. And I want to speak to those that are victims of sexual assault now, whether you're a man or a woman. Know that we're here for you. If you're a victim of sexual assault in this community, and by that we're talking about LA County, not just LA City, you can come for help. Whether you're prepared to prosecute or not, we will be here for you. We have services for you. And if you're prepared to move forward with the prosecution, we will evaluate it as we do any other case. And if we believe that the evidence is there to present a credible case in front of a jury that can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, we would proceed accordingly. You do not have to suffer alone. You don't have to keep it to yourself, and help is here unconditionally. I'm going to say a few words in Spanish because I know there's tremendous amount of interest from the Spanish media, and I know that there are going to be other speakers today, and then we're going to open it up for sea permitida. Ahora voy a pasar para que otras personas hablen y después podemos tomar sus preguntas. Ana Maria, you're going to talk next? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Ana Maria Baralt, and I'm the niece of Jose Menendez. Erik and Menendez are my cousins. I would also like to acknowledge the other family members here, some standing, some seated. Joan Vandermolen is here, Kitty's sister, as well as Diane Vandermolen Hernandez, Kitty's niece. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Today is a day filled with hope for our family. We are here because District Attorney Gascon has taken a brave and necessary step forward by recommending a resentencing for Lyle and Erik. The DA's decision reflects the truth that is hidden for so long, and I am grateful for his leadership in making this choice. We stand united in our hope and gratitude. Together, we can make sure that Erik and Lyle receive the justice they deserve and finally come home. Thank you to District Attorney George Gascon for his courage and leadership. This step gives us all hope that the truth will finally be heard and that Lyle and Erik can begin to heal from the trauma of their past. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah.
Jose Menendez is going to say a few words.
This is the niece of Kitty
You're gonna
Menendez,
say, I'm sorry.
Joan Vandermolen.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for coming. We are here today because District Attorney Gascon has taken a brave and compassionate step forward by recommending resentencing for my cousins, Erik and Lyle. And we wish to offer our deepest gratitude to DA Gascon. This decision is not just a legal matter. It is a recognition of the abuse my cousins endured, and we are grateful for the DA's leadership in putting justice over politics. We know this wasn't an easy decision, but is the right one. This is about truth, justice, and healing. It is time for Lyle and Erik to come home. And I ask all of you to join us in this fight for justice. We stand united in our hope and in our gratitude. Together we can make sure that Erik and Lyle receive the justice they deserve and finally come home. Thank you again to District Attorney George Gascon for his courage and leadership. This step gives us all hope that truth will finally be heard and Erik and Lyle can begin to heal from the horrors of their past. We hope this will also shed light and increase awareness and help others who have been victimized by sexual violence. Thank you all so much for being here today. We are grateful for everyone's support.
Is there anyone else speaking?
No, that's it.
Okay. Okay. And I apologize. I'm reading notes here and I'm trying to understand all the notes. Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain? So you go tomorrow, you file a case for resentencing. Then what happens after? Are the brothers going to be there tomorrow? And when is the role of the parole board going to come in?
Right. And you know what? I'm going to actually have the people that are handling the case walk you through all of it. The brothers will not be there tomorrow. The role of parole board comes later. But Nancy, why don't you walk everybody through?
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll file our. My name is Nancy Thaberge. I'm the deputy in charge of the resentencing unit. This is Brock Lunsford, assistant head deputy of the post-conviction litigation division. So what will happen is tomorrow we will file the actual petition requesting resentencing with the legal arguments and accompanying exhibits as to why we think it's appropriate. It's just a filing. No one's going to physically be in the courtroom. From there, we'll also serve the defense with our motion and our paperwork so that they'll have their copies. And from there, we will coordinate with the defense to set up a court date with the court so that the petition can be heard. Now, whether or not that's a setting or a hearing will be decided between us and the defense and the court once everybody gets an idea of what we filed. Then from there at the hearing, the defense can either decide to have the defendants, the Menendez brothers, physically brought into court. They can ask that the individuals appear by video or audio WebEx, a kind of a Zoom participation, which we all kind of adapted to because of COVID. And then from there, we will do the hearing and submit all the written and legal and oral arguments and any evidence that needs to be admitted at the time. And then the court will rule at that point. But we don't have that court date yet because we're just starting the process tomorrow. But it's our intention to have that go forward before the habeas, because if the judge grants it, that may impact the defense's decision to proceed on the habeas. So we're gonna try it just as a matter of economy of time to stack it one before the other.
Now, have the brothers found out about this?
No, this was.
No, this is actually the.
Some signal breakup here from the courthouse. Both feeds went down at the same time, so wondering if they're having some bandwidth issues from the courthouse itself. It would appear that they are answering the question as if to say that the Menendez brothers have not yet been informed of this decision.
Over that, that's good.
Oh, but here it is. Let's go back. Again, signal freezing on multiple feeds out of the courthouse, so it might be a bandwidth issue out of this particular room. Standing by for it to resume.
Announce the press conference before you made your decision?
Yes, because we're going to make a decision one way or the other. It's just a question what the decision was going to be.
Just give
Yes.
you a timeline. If you are no longer in office, what happens to this case? Could a potential successor undo what you're about to file?
I don't think so. Once it's filed, it's filed. It's up to the court to take it from there.
You mentioned.
Yes, I'm sorry.
In a parole situation, obviously you've got policy since you're obviously supporting the push for release here. How would that work with people from post-litigation?
No. We have a policy that we only send victim services advocate if the victim or the victim's family wants that support. We don't send lawyers to our parole boards to relitigate a case. The parole board is fully aware of what the initial crime was, the crime that led to the conviction. Their work is primarily to evaluate whether they're rehabilitated and safe to be released, and that will be the way here. Nancy, we don't.
I'm hoping to get it on calendar, depending on the defense preparedness. I'd like to see it go to hearing probably within the next 30 to 45 days at the most. There's not much to argue.
Okay, there's one more question, please, but related to the case, not to elections. If you want to talk about elections, we'll do that. Yes, sir.
What would you like to say right now to Erik Lyle Menendez?
What we like to say to them, and it's we, because it's not I made the final decision, obviously, but we have a whole team that worked on it. We have a family here that wants to be reunited, is that we appreciate what they did while they were in prison. While I disapprove of the way they handle their abuse, we hope that they not only have learned, which appears that they have, but that if they get reintegrated into our community, that they continue to do public good. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So that was the press conference. I know the questions were hard to hear there at the end, but basically they were talking about the timeline. They expect it to be 30 to 45 days for the court to make a decision once they present this. If the court grants them the resentencing, and I do expect that they will, there would be really no reason for the court to not go for the recommendation of the DA under the conviction integrity laws. Then they will go immediately. The DA was outlining that they were going to recommend immediate eligibility for parole. It would then go before the parole board, and they would make a determination as to whether or not they felt like the brothers were safe to return to society. I am anticipating that by the beginning of next year, probably they will be out. That's my opinion. Mac, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just going through some of my notes.
Yeah, I'm ready to hear your notes. But what do you think, what's your opinion on what the parole board, you think the parole board is going to do and how this is going to go down?
I'm really hoping that they are going to get time served. I really hope that they're going to look at the changing that they've done, and because honestly, I think if we can all see it, they should be able to see it,
Yeah.
I'm impressed that they are as sound mind as they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Truly.
For sure.
That shows such personal work, and growth, for real.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I just feel like the efforts, like I said, the efforts that they made in court and behind bars with no reason for them to do so. They could have just said, you know what, fuck it. You guys gave up on us. We give up on you. We're just going to sit here for our rest of our life and do absolutely nothing. We don't have to. We're under no obligation to make this place any better or do anything for anyone. So fuck you all. I mean, they could have done that. They could have taken the gypsy way, and done absolutely jack shit, nothing, But remember, everything she did was for parole, not for any other thing, not to grow, not to be a better person, not parole. And that's that was what it was to her. She, kept she although she got in trouble in prison, she didn't see any fucking consequences there. She didn't get consequences really for the murder. She didn't get consequences for fraud, for damn sure. I feel like we have set a precedent showing her that consequences don't apply to her. And I just think that that's fucking terrible way to set up somebody who is, got the mental issues like her, and I just think
doing absolutely no work on herself.
No work, none. And her family has not encouraged it to this day. They don't.
I said, I feel like she's worse now than she was before she went in.
I agree.
I agree.
In fact, I think she's even worse than when I was dealing with her in 2018, 2019. I'm telling you, she's worse.
Yeah, I think she is.
All the fame, and Melissa Moore takes credit for, oh, I'm the one that did this. Well, Melissa, you're right. You're the one who did this. You're the one who told the lies. You're the one who put the show out that told the lies. You're the one who knew the facts of this case. And if you didn't know the facts of the case, you had every ability to educate yourself on the facts of the case. Fuck, you talked to me several times. Why didn't you just ask me? Because I would have told you. But no, you wanted to do something, and you're absolutely right. It is your fault. It's your fault. It's Christy's fault. It's Rod's fault. It's everyone's fault for what
honestly, we're looking at. She should be all over this case.
She should be.
If she's truly an advocate and for prison reform and an advocate for abuse victims, she should be all over this case. All over it.
Right.
And she didn't know dick about it when they asked her about it.
Kathy, Melissa Moore, for your information, is the daughter of the Happy Face serial killer. She was a correspondent in true crime for Dr. Oz, which is where Christy met her, which is the very first interview that Christy actually did was Dr. Oz. So her bullshit about meeting Melissa 18 months ago or whatever, bullshit. Besides the fact that she met Melissa Moore back when I was working with her, she'd come around and pretended like she didn't know her, but she did. So, I mean, that's who Melissa Moore is. And she made a name for herself talking about her dad as a serial killer and the fact that their family did not know. I find her to be one of the most disingenuous people I've ever met or spoken to. She had a show where she was reuniting victims' families and perpetrators' families and trying to allow them to have some sort of peace within each other. And I'm telling you, I watched that and I could not believe how ungenuine she was. It's just like she was just going through the motions of saying the things, but you could just see that there's nothing.
No,
Yeah.
nothing.
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 Yeah.
Like
yeah. Nothing.
Like,
I mean, she sat up on a stage talking about Gypsy Rose and talking about freaking hot and cold tub showers and freaking ice makers. What the F are you doing? Like, I can't with her. I'm so irritated by her. Hold on. Go ahead. Keep talking.
No, I was just gonna say, like, what in the world? She acts like she just was born. Everything's new. She acts like everything is absolutely the first time she's ever done it. Oh, I've never done this.
I'll be right
oh,
back.
I've never done that. Oh, I've never done this. Oh, I've never done that. Be so for real with me. Oh, is she leaving? Yeah, supposedly. She's done all those things. Dee Dee made sure she had one hell of a life. I'm telling you, she did. Dee Dee wore muumuus and had old furniture, nothing new, where Gypsy had everything new. Every wig you could imagine, every princess dress. Yep, Kathy, people are catching on. They're catching on. Especially once the microdeletion got released. And then Dee Dee's the photos got released, and then the autopsy got released, and more people are talking about the truth, and more people are seeing the truth. Her numbers are going down every day. They are. And I'm telling you, once this baby is born and the Menendez possibly get out, there's going to be not a whole lot of attention on Gypsy, and she ain't going to be happy about that. Like right now, when you're a pregnant mother, you get all the attention. You do, and it's great. Like I said, I loved every minute of being pregnant. I did. I loved it. And once your baby is born, now I wasn't jealous of the baby. And in fact, I like missed the feeling, honestly. I almost felt like it wasn't, even though the baby was right in front of me, it was like I still missed that feeling of them being inside my stomach. It's a beautiful feeling. They're right under your heart. You feel them move. You love them before they're even born, you know? But once that baby is born, somebody like Gypsy, I feel like she's going to be extremely jealous. Yes, she's got another season coming. They've been filming. She is the last one that should have a baby. Absolutely, she's the last one. I mean, just look at what she's done since she's been out. It's just been.
I want to show you guys my shirt before we get going here. It says, "My scars tell a story. They are reminders of times when life just tried to break me, but failed."
Nice.
And
the
that
skull's
is
very cool, girl.
That is the story of my life, but it's definitely the story of this last year.
Story of my life. Take you home.
Home.
Night. Keep you warm inside.
Story of my life.
Yeah, we should have sang that for karaoke. We will next time.
We know next time. We did the other one, the other one.
Beautiful, but we were all like,
We were all a mess on
on
that one.
another freaking.
Right.
we were
Okay,
all singing
so
on it. It's like we were doing a
it was
round.
so delayed. It was so
Mhm.
delayed. It was so delayed. So yeah, I mean, I'm transitioning from Gypsy to the Menendez brothers. When you hear this story and what Amy has researched today, I think that you will have a real perspective on what real victims that took their abusers' lives look like.
Yeah, it was.
I do not condone murder.
No, and that's not what we're doing this for.
And I don't believe that what they did was necessarily the best choice. But knowing what I know today, I do believe they took two predators out of this world that would have preyed
on
on
others
many
who
more
he
children.
was preying on others.
Were preying on other children, and I think they would have preyed on many more children.
I mean, I'm
had
not sure if
these
Kitty
two.
only was with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Jose for sure. He was a very, very bad man. One of the worst. He's a bad man. He was a bad man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it should have been them that took him out, but he definitely should not be on this earth. I can tell you that. I mean, he. So,
I have to say something about.
Go ahead.
That I just wait me 1 second. I'm adjusting my clothing. It's been on too long. Okay, here we go. All right, so I want to say something about my opinions on child molesters and rapists.
Mm-hmm.
In that, I personally believe it's a more egregious and more heinous crime than murder. Murder is one act. It's over, it's done, and the person is dead. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Rape victims and child sexual assault victims.
They take your life.
They take your life, but they leave you living.
You're living in a shell.
And I think that that is outrageous.
It's hard.
I think that these boys were in imminent danger. I think that they were correct in thinking that that might be their last weekend. I think that they were correct in knowing that the abuse was going to continue, and it was going to continue even more forcefully than it had before. And I think that, honestly, if I was ever for just absolutely 100% death penalty across the board, it would actually be for rapists and sexual predators of children.
Because I'm telling you this right now, those are the people who are the hardest to reform.
Yes. It's ingrained.
I mean, if they're reformable at all. And,
right.
and I can say this because, like I said, my cousin worked in a prison and was a counselor, psychologist, whatever, for the inmates, and would do like group meetings with them and one-on-ones with them. And he honestly felt that no, they were not.
Right.
They were not going to be able to live a normal life and not have these feelings that they have and do the things and the urges and the things that they do. It's there. It's there.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but sexual predators, sexual child molesters fall in the same pathology under the DSM-5. It's not an illness, it's a disorder. And it's a pathological disorder, and it falls under the exact same pathological disorder classification as actual real Munchausen by proxy people, caregivers. It is a pathological need that they must fulfill. And Dee Dee never fit that bill, by the way. That's not who she was. It wasn't what she was doing. And it's sickening to think that they've made her out to be this horrible villain. and she sustained the worst, most egregious abuse of ever. No, these boys.
I mean, seriously, that's what the attorney. That's what the state attorney. He was like, "It's the worst abuse you've ever seen or heard from." Hello, have you not heard of the Menendez either?
Have you not heard of Gabriel Fernandez or Garnet
Right?
Spears,
Anyone else who has truly been
whose mother abused him so badly under Munchausen by proxy that she poisoned him to death with salt?
exactly?
Do you have any understanding what
of what
agony
it really is?
that 5-year-old died in? He died
Exactly.
writhing in pain because his mother put salt in his IV.
She liked the attention she got him having a sick kid.
Prison reform and what Lyle has done. I don't know exactly what Erik has done. I only heard
Erik, he was involved with, it's called the AVP, Alternatives to Violence Project. And
Okay.
it's where they explore other ways to channel their emotions to be more peaceful and like non-violent ways, you know?
Sure, I get that.
So that, I know he was doing that a couple years ago.
Right,
I'm sure he
right.
probably still is.
So
because he really, I mean, if you just watch him in the trial, I mean, him and Lyle, they are struggling hard with what they're having to talk about and what they're feeling. I mean, like I said, I had to stop a couple times because I was like, whoa,
Right.
I mean, it's a lot. Like, it really,
I'm sorry, what?
Like, really takes your breath away.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, so that's the advocacy he's done, and that's wonderful for helping, violent offenders to figure out how to not be, violent like that. But what Lyle has done is tried to change a system that is supposed to be run the way that he has changed the system and is not. Our justice system is not supposed to be designed to be a punitive system. It is supposed to be one of rehabilitation. However, our justice system is not one of rehabilitation. Now, Europe has that. Many of the European countries do. That is why their repeat offenders rate and percentage is far less than the United States. And if you look back, I did an interview with Dawn Boker, Nicholas's, prison girlfriend, the one that was writing to him in prison. And she was talking about something like this because she had been in and out of the system. Christina Randall, I believe, talks about this because she's been in the system. And the thing is with this is that if you come from a state of mind that you have to do whatever you have to do to survive, then you make choices based on your economic status, your, what's going on in your life. And in the more impoverished areas, there is more repeat offending because they see those people as not being worthy of rehabilitation. And they teach them no skills, no nothing. They do not prepare them to come back out into a world as felons who are going to struggle. They just send them back out in the world.
Yeah.
And they generally, if you weren't a hard criminal before you went in, you sure as shit are one when you come out. And so our justice system needs to change. We do not need a system that is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. This system is supposed to be designed for them to go into prison to become more suitable to come out into society. And instead, you're putting them in there and you're treating them like animals and you're doing these different things and you're not giving them resources and you're not. And so what are they supposed to do? when they come out and no one will give them a job and no one will give them a chance, and they're back in the same shitty neighborhood that they
Mm-hmm.
grew up in, that made them turn to drugs and gangs and
Mm-hmm.
these things in the first place. I'm telling you, this is a system that if we don't change it, it's only going to continue to get worse and worse. And I have a fear for our country based on that.
Yeah, things have to change.
And now we have a society that has taught the younger generation, Gypsy's generation and younger, they're entitled to everything. They have no consequences. They get participation trophies for just showing up. They don't have rules that they have to apply. We have to accept everything as normal, and that everything should be, oh my gosh, everything should just be accepted and we should just do everything and we should, okay, but what you're setting up is you're completely breaking a structure of consequences for actions.
Yeah.
And a reward system that is rewarding you for doing the bare minimum. So why would you do any more than the bare minimum?
Exactly. Why?
You know, in life, I don't know if you people know this, but you don't get participation trophies for showing up at your job and doing the bare minimum.
And that's, you know what, honestly, I used to love watching 60 Days In.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God, like, you really see how bad it is in there. And there were some places, man, that were not good.
Right.
Not good. Like, they would deal with water leaks and stuff overflowing,
right.
and the food is bad, and
right,
you know, medical needs aren't being met, and
so if we're not, you know, I believe, you know, I do believe in capital punishment. I believe it should be reserved for the most heinous of crimes with no doubts in it at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's doubts, I think that it should not be employed. I think that they should have to have a much higher burden of proof. And and this is coming from somebody who, as a young adult, when asked about, do I think that capital punishment is warranted, my answer was fry 'em all. I wanted out of jury duty, but I really did think that way. I believed that if you took lives, then your life should be taken, that we should not have to house you. We should not have to feed you. We should not have to educate you. We should not have to do any of those things because you are unredeemable. You took lives, especially children's lives. That was my biggest thing. Like anybody
See,
who
and
children.
I do see that sometimes, but then there's other times where I'm like, no, you should have to live the rest of your life and think about what the fuck you did.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, by yourself,
working in
somewhere
crime.
alone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I
in solitary confinement.
Either way, I would be satisfied.
Right. You know, I have softened on the death penalty after working in true crime.
Right.
And I would have never thought that was going to happen because, you know, I would think it my perchance for wanting it to be the death penalty at all costs would be higher, but it's not. It's not, because I see how many times we get things wrong. We are humans. We are fallible. We are not infallible. We make mistakes. We get things wrong. And when we are determining things such as a person's life or death, it's not that fucking simple. It's not that fucking simple.
No.
And, you know, I believe that people can be reformed in some ways. Some people can be. I think that nothing should be across the board like this is how we do it and this is the way we're going to do it and this is the only way, because none of these cases are the same. No one case is the same as any other case. Not one. There is mitigating circumstances, there is reasons, there is people, there is all kinds of different things. And that's why what has always interested me was never the crime itself. It was, how did we get to that moment for that crime to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What did the victim do? What was the
Mm-hmm.
victim's life? What was the perpetrator's life? I want to know those things.
Something brought you to that point.
Right. Like,
I want to know what that is.
all of us can have those thoughts. Everyone can say, oh my God, I want to kill him right now. If you haven't
Right.
said that about your
But I'm not
spouse,
responsible for what I think. I'm responsible for
right,
what I
for what I
do.
do. If you've never thought that about your spouse, oh my God, I so want to kill him. You're not really married. You're not really married. You're not in love. You're definitely not in love, because marriage is hard. And I think I want to kill my husband on a daily basis sometimes, you know, but I love that man and it stops me from doing so. I also was a child who grew up in a severe abuse with a mother who was diabetic, who had pills that made her crazy. She was stressed because she was a single mother and my father was a deadbeat piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I grew up like that and my family knew, and I didn't know my family knew, but I found out my family knew and I never talked to them again after finding out that they knew. Kind of like the same thing with Lyle, you know, walking in there, or Eric, whichever one it was, that walked in and told his mother, and she
You
said, you
too,
know,
Ron. Thanks for being here.
thank you. You know, talking about how, um, you know, do you think I'm stupid? I know what's going on in this house.
Mm-hmm.
They said the same thing to me. Like, I was standing there explaining to my cousin why I was so angry all the time. I'm like, you think I'm just angry? You think I'm just angry. That's what you think. Like, did you not know that my mother was abusing the hell out of me growing up? Like, did you
Mm-hmm.
not know that she was hitting me? Did you not know that she was emotionally abusing me? And my uncle, without a thought in the world, said, yes, yes, we knew, but we didn't know what to do. And I just, when I was slapped in the face with that, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I wanted to kill him right then.
Mm-hmm.
And I had thought about many times just not calling 911 and letting my mother slip into the
Mm-hmm.
further coma of the diabetes, and our lives would both be better.
Mm-hmm.
But my brain and my heart would not allow me to do that.
No.
I loved my mother. I knew it was wrong. And it's always fascinated me what goes on up here.
Yeah, you can't help it sometimes.
When you decide that it's no longer just a thought, it's an action.
Right.
And I don't understand that action.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what
Mm-mm.
makes another person decide for any reason other than self-defense.
Self-defense, exactly.
Or war. I'm sorry, you know,
Yeah,
war.
but
And
I
I don't
mean,
even agree with war all that much either, but
I
I
mean,
understand why we have wars and I support our veterans. But
like
do
you
I
were saying, you know, with the Menendez, then
right?
they put rifles in 18,
18-year-olds
19-year-old hands and have them go over there
and kill faceless names, you know,
yeah,
faceless people.
yeah.
They don't know what they're killing for. They don't have anything more than being told, go over there and kill these people. Women, children, men,
Yeah.
they don't care. I mean, so it's these men, these two men who I feel were very sheltered boys. I think that they were immature because their father had made them that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their lifestyle was lavish. And Ivory Rose even brought up about the fact that, well, what about them stealing from their friends and their neighbors? And I'm going to tell you what, that happens a lot
Mm-hmm.
in rich families with rich kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thrill. It's a one time of breaking out from what
It's
their
the same thrill
parents.
that it gets from poor people. It's
Right.
just the thrill of taking shit.
Right.
Taking it,
I
and I got
mean,
away with it. Did you get away with it? I got away with it. Did you?
I got away with it.
Yeah.
It's a thrill. But beyond that, most of these kids that are in these richer families are very controlled. They are told what they're going to do for the family. They're told where they're going to go to school. A lot of times they're told what they're going to study because they have to live up to the expectations
Mm-hmm.
of their families and their legacy. And so some of them do that to break away from the control and to rebel. And in fact, Erik even went and returned the items. It's not like he needed them. He just wanted to see if he could get away with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's pushing those boundaries. And that is very common in the elite children communities. I'm telling you.
Right. Right.
So Texas is lenient on death penalty. Oh, honey. Texas is one of the most stringent death penalty states in the actual country. I don't know where you're getting that, Francie Fran. California is much more lenient on the death penalty. They will sentence you to the death penalty, but they won't execute your asses. Like, I mean, it's been years and years since they've ever done an execution in freaking California, but they'll still sentence you to the death
Yeah, I
penalty.
mean, I was blown away about Idaho having the firing squad.
Yes.
That's a trip.
Yep. On executions,
And
not
then
death
learning
penalty.
about what the whole firing squad, what happens in the firing squad, and how one person doesn't have something or whatever the case, only one person has the, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you don't have all the regret of being the person who did it.
Right. Right.
Because nobody
They
knows
don't
who
know.
actually did it. But
Nobody knows who
still,
actually did
that
it.
just
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. It's terrible.
whatever. Yeah,
It's
that doesn't
terrible.
help me. I'm sorry. That doesn't help me. I still know I could have done it.
Yeah, it no, I think I think it's absolutely inhumane. But I mean, I guess people have the right to choose whatever way, and they choose the
I don't think
firing
it's a
squad, I
choice. I
guess.
think that they may
Oh, no,
not
no.
have the
Mhm.
injection stuff.
Right, but in some states, it's actually a choice.
Oh, is it?
Yep, in some states, it's a choice.
Well, damn.
But I feel like, what are you asking your officers to do? What guilt are you putting
That's what I'm
on
saying.
them? They've got to live for the rest of their life knowing they took a life.
Okay,
Like,
not that the Green Mile was real.
right.
But I can still see where that would happen if
Yeah.
if you got close with one of them or whatever, or you
Yeah.
knew that this person was actually a very good person, but yet you still had to do this because it's the law. That's
Right.
a very big struggle. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
that'd
Yeah.
be tough. That'd be tough.
And what, God forbid, that person is actually innocent and was wrongfully convicted.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine?
Mm.
So let's talk a little bit about the abuse that the things that you've looked into, starting with the testimony about the abuse and what actually happened to the Menendez brothers as boys.
Well, Lyle, I learned a lot about. I didn't realize that the actual physical SA was between the ages of 6 and 8 from his dad.
His
Okay.
dad.
He still did things like take pictures, what have you, but he didn't do anything else to him physically. And then when he was around 11, his mom started having him lay with her and would have him touch her while she would kiss him and things. And then when he was about 13, he told her he didn't want to do this anymore. And she got really upset and pretty much zeroed in on him and just made his life hell. So, I don't think anything was happening to him like that from 13 on, right? So then here comes Erik, and he's like 7 years old, and his dad did the same thing with Lyle. He would tell him, this is what the Greeks would do, this is what warriors do before they go into battle, and it makes them close and it bonds you, and you know what I mean. And sometimes he would say it during, and sometimes he would say it afterwards, right? So because he was so stern just all the time, he was just a very stern man. He was very, very sarcastic, he was mean. But when they were alone during that time, at that time, Jose was being nice and saying, this is our special time, this is our special love, and it just started out like massaging. This is what I have to do. I have to help you, massage your muscles before you swim. This is what we do, which that's how it started with Lyle also. But and then it started, I need you to massage me with your mouth, and right. And then when Erik was 7, he did that for the first time for his dad. He gave him oral, his own dad. And he said he was gagging really bad, and kept trying to back off. And his dad just grabbed his head and jammed it. And he ended up going to the emergency room because he did something to his pharynx and his uvula in the back of his throat. And like I said, he was 7. He was 7 years old. And so then I think he was about 10. And he said his mom would come upstairs and continue to like bathe him and stuff, like would wash his hair and would sponge him and even wash his privates and stuff. It's just the whole situation was just like bizarre, like a nightmare. And so then she would start telling him that she wanted him to take his pants down and sit on the bed. She wanted to check him out. And
Right.
he asked her, "What do you mean?" And she wanted to check out his penis area. She wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Never did anything, but just checked him all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was times where he would have blisters there. And she would
Mm.
pop those blisters.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really painful. And he didn't know what they were from. And she never asked what they were from. And she never told him what they were from. So I don't know what they were from. Whether his dad would also, 1 second, I need a drink.
Mm-hmm.
His dad would take out pins, tacks, rope. He would poke him with these things in his butt and his thighs. He tied the rope around his penis very tight. That could have been what the blisters were. I'm not sure. He told him the first time that he had actual sex with Erik. I think he was 10 years old. And before that they actually did that, he had like a tool of some sort. It was like a wooden tool. And he told him to use that on himself so he could prepare himself for his dad, which he never did. But that's what, but his dad would use that with him whenever they went, and his dad would have him use it on him. Oh my God. And so it was he couldn't, he's little, he's a boy, for crying out loud. So yes, it was painful. It was very, very painful. And his dad was nice the first couple of times, and then the last time his dad brought in the Vaseline, he said, and he was just like, ouch, it hurts, please don't do that. And he just kept going, and he started crying and he started screaming, and his dad slammed it into him. And then when he got done with him, he flipped his ass over and he told him to look at him, and he said, "Don't you ever scream like that again. I will make sure that you will never be able to scream like that again." So he scared the living shit. And he also, this is a big guy. Jose was he was a big dude. Plus he
Right.
was a very powerful dude. He was very, it was just like even the cousins would come over, right? And he said, the one cousin said like Jose would take the boys in, I don't know about the same time either. I don't know, but they would like do showers, baths, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the one cousin heard one of them yell out, and he got up to go see like what's going on. And Kitty, the mother, was like, "No, don't move. You stay right there.
Right.
Don't go down there. Don't go listen. Don't go nothing." So that right there tells you she knew. She knew. Um, and then Erik was made to swallow his dad's
Right.
stuff. And he would always need lemons or ketchup because that was the only thing that would get that taste out of his mouth. So he was always like, I need a lemon, or I need a, ketchup or what have you. I mean, it was, I don't know. It was
Mm-hmm.
very, very, like the needles and the pins and stuff. I don't understand. I mean, that's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah.
You're using things to, um, and then you would, and then they would have to go down to dinner after this, right? Now we got to go sit at the table with this guy and try to eat dinner.
I can't
How?
imagine.
How?
I can't imagine.
I
I
mean,
can't imagine. I
I
can't
can't.
imagine. How do you? And you're supposed to just put on a happy
And they knew
face.
that he made good on his threats. Like if he said something, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
Erik was 17 and still going on. And he finally built up the courage to tell him no. He's like, no, no. And Jose came over to him and flipped his ass all around that room and flipped his ass up on the bed and told him, to get on his knees. And then he left the room and he didn't know what was going on. He knew he was mad. He knew he was coming back, but he didn't know what was going on. So he came
Right.
back and he had this really big, long jabber and held
Mm-hmm.
it to his throat and told him to never tell him no again. And then told him to get in a different position. And so he could see his dad graping him in the mirror. He made
Oh,
him watch him
Jesus
do it. He
Christ.
made him watch him do it. So not only don't tell me no, but you're going to watch me do this to you. This is what I'm saying, Vance. I had to take so many breaks. Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. It's hard. I'm telling you. It's a lot. It's a lot. And Erik pretty much, and I no surprise, but yeah, he threw up pretty much every time afterwards. He would throw up. So of course, when Lyle finally finds this out, you know what I'm saying, a couple days before the actual, murder happened, because Lyle didn't know that was happening to him. He did not know that was happening because it stopped with his dad. It stopped with him when he was like 8. So he did
Right.
not,
He thought his brother was safe at this point, and I'm
he knew his
sure.
dad was physically abusive and shit, but I don't think he thought, And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I mean that his brother. So yeah, and and Lyle tried. He said, you know what? And he didn't really go into all the detail when they went to get the shotguns. Is when Lyle opened up. They were driving around that day. They were trying to stay out of the house. They were
Yeah.
trying to stay out of the house, stay away from the parents, stay away from the house. And that's when Erik really told him everything that happened. And it was
Right. And on August 18th. So the murders happened on August 20th. I want you to go through what went on that day. But on August 18th, Lyle and Erik went to several gun stores in Southern California to buy handguns. However, due to issues with Lyle's California driver's license and a 2-week waiting period mandated by gun laws, the brothers decided to purchase the shotguns instead. Back then in 1989, there was not a 10-day waiting period on shotguns. There was on personal, handguns. And so they bought them at a big 5. They used one of the brothers used a false ID of one of their friends. And
yes.
And they purchased the firearms on the 18th. I don't know what day they went out on the boat. I'd have to look at the timeline. You but on the 20th, their parents were dead. And in the Barbara Walters special, where she interviewed them, after they were finally rejoined together because they were kept away from each other for 2 decades. Could not communicate, nothing. They said, Lyle said that Erik told him what was going on, and they had found out that their father was not going to allow him to go to UCLA
Right.
away and stay on campus
Nope.
or get an apartment. He was telling them he was going to stay home with them for the next 4 years. And he found out that this was still happening to his brother on a very regular basis. And he said, within 5 days, my parents were dead.
Yeah.
I think.
But there was the boat trip also.
Right. The boat trip also.
That was is that the day before? And the boat trip, I think it was the day before, and the boat trip got changed from daytime to nighttime. So that really freaked them out. They were like, holy shit, this is it. We're done. We're done. This is where we're gonna go.
Yes, the day before. The Menendez family shark hunting boat trip was on August 19th of 1989.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so the day before.
Right.
So they're supposed to go during the day. And they change it to a nighttime. Now the brothers had already purchased their shotguns. I don't know if they had them on the boat or not.
And I think he was screwing with them.
Yeah.
Like he was scaring them because Lyle had already said something to his dad at this point about it.
Right. Right.
And of course it didn't go well. Of course.
Of course not. You can't tell a narcissist that they're fucking, a narcissist and an abuser because they don't believe that shit. So, they don't take very kindly to being confronted. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't take it well. In fact, Lyle was so nervous about talking to his dad about this that he actually sat down and made notes.
Yeah.
Because he said he would get very nervous when he was talking to his dad and sometimes break down and cry because his dad intimidated him so badly. But he had to write it down, to talk to him. And he tried to talk to the mom, and of course she was like, no, that's not happening, blah, 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 blah. And she was a very violent person, too. Kitty was violent. She did a lot of hand swinging, I guess. And she also, I think, did a lot of drinking. And what else? She said a lot of really mean things. Like, you ruined my life. I should have never had you. Things like that.
Right.
Can't even, I don't know. I would still, even if I was afraid of him, I would still find a way to be a comfort to them. I don't understand that. Like, were they just a team doing this to them? Like, what?
I don't know. Well, you know what I didn't know, and I just found out. I'm looking at a timeline. In 1998, before the murders, Erik and Craig Signorelli write the screenplay called Friends, and this is where they wrote the movie about a wealthy young man.
Okay, yeah, tell them about that because I haven't seen that one yet, and I want to.
Okay, it's very interesting. You're going to hear something that's very interesting. All right, Erik and his close friend Craig, and this is from Town and Country magazine, where they give a breakdown of the timeline from 1988 till 1996 when they were finally convicted. Okay, let me give it to you here. So the screenplay was written in 1988, and it is about a wealthy young man who kills his parents for money. And I'm going to see if I can get this screenplay. I've seen it out other places, but I'm going to see if I can get it somehow. If it was ever turned in or anything, then it would be, interesting. But guess who typed it up and transcribed it?
What'd you say?
Guess who typed it up and transcribed it, Mac?
Who?
Kitty.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that either.
I did not either. Kitty reportedly transcribed and typed the screenplay. It was never allowed into evidence during the trials, but it is a key point of reference. So then Erik and Lyle burglarized the homes of the wealthy families. That was Lyle had been suspended from Princeton for plagiarism and was back home in California. And during this time, the two brothers committed two major burglaries. As Dominic Dunn wrote in Vanity Fair, these burglaries were not inconsequential. They involved money, property, and some serious jewelry in the $100,000 range taken from the safes in neighbors' houses. One of Erik's friends, who had discovered the combination of the safe of a friend's father, participated in the first heist. That friend, who was cut out of the second burglary, is who turned them in. So basically, he turned them in because he didn't get a piece of the pie.
Right.
That's nice. He continued. Jose decided that Erik, who was underage at the time, would take the fall for both boys. In a deal worked out by their lawyer, Erik got probation and compulsory counseling, which is where Dr. Oziel comes in. He started seeing Dr. Jerome Oziel, and Erik signed a confidentiality waiver so Oziel could share anything he learned with Jose and Kitty. Lyle starts at Princeton during his first semester. Lyle is accused of plagiarizing an assignment in his Psychology 101 class and then is suspended for a year. So that's where he ends up back home at that time, and they commit those burglaries. In 1989, we've got on July 30th, 1989, Erik and Lyle reportedly watch Billionaire Boys Club. It's a two-part television film, which I remember watching this, which premiered in 1987, reportedly aired on NBC July 30th and 31st per Turner Classic Movies. It is a mini-series about the Billionaires Boy Club, consisting of wealthy young investment partners led by Joe Hunt, who was convicted of murdering a fellow investor whom Hunt felt had swindled him. Prosecutor Lester Curry Maya would later argue that the plot of the film is essentially what the brothers do to their parents, and they had watched it shortly before. There's no evidence of this, actually.
No.
That's just more shit.
Yeah.
So then on August 19th, 1989, the Menendez family takes a shark hunting boat trip. And it says, as Monster shows in episode 4, and I have not watched this. I've not heard great things about it. And the brothers seemed very upset by it. But I have a deep respect for Ryan Murphy. So I'm definitely going to try and watch it. I just don't have Netflix right now. The day before the murders, the family took a chartered boat. It was called Motion Picture Marine to go shark fishing or shark hunting. The boat captain later testified the brothers kept their distance from Jose and Kitty and mainly stayed in the front of the boat, like you had said.
Yeah.
And then on Lyle 18 and Erik 21 killed their parents, Jose and Kitty, on Sunday, August 20th, 1989. With two 12-gauge shotguns and fatally shot their parents a total of 14 times. That, my friends, is overkill. That, my friends, is years and years years of aggression and hatred and fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he said. That's what Erik said. He goes, I just kept, because here's the thing. Lyle thought Erik was going to commit suicide.
Yes.
He thought that's where he was at that time, because the way he was breaking down and telling him what happened and being like, I can't leave. He's not going to let me leave. I can't go to college. He stopped him from going to Brown because it was too far away. It's on the East Coast.
Right.
So he tried to go to US and he's like, well, you can go, but you're going to stay home. You're not going to. And so he didn't think he had a way out. He did not think he had a way out.
Right. Right.
And he was very depressed. He was very suicidal. I don't know how he couldn't be.
Right.
I don't know how he couldn't be.
Right.
And Lyle was very worried. And Lyle told him, listen, this is what we're going to do. Either you're going to come with me and we'll go to Princeton and get away from them, or I'll come back and we'll go to UCLA together. That's the love that they, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And Lyle said it. What would you guys think if I was protecting my sister?
Exactly.
What if two girls, two 18 and 21-year-old girls had done this? what
what
would
I'm
your
saying.
stance be? So going on with this timeline a little bit further, because I kind of want to talk about this a
Go
little
ahead.
bit. So 12 days afterwards is when Erik confesses to Craig, so their friend, that he had done this. And then on October 31st is when Erik, who's feeling guilty again, confesses to Dr. Oziel. I was having trouble telling him about why I was suicidal since I hadn't told him that I killed my parents. And so he wasn't really getting it. And Erik later recalled, according to journalist Robert Rand. And so I just decided that I needed to tell somebody, and I decided to tell him right then. I really wanted him at that point to tell me that I wasn't a bad person, and he couldn't do that unless he knew that I killed my parents. After Oziel insisted that I call Lyle to have him come to the office, Judalyn Smith later said she was in the waiting room while this all happened. Bullshit. November 17th, 1989 is when Craig goes to the police. So per Dunn, Craig told the officers that Erik told him Lyle was to shoot my dad and I was supposed to shoot my mother. We went into the room and Lyle and I pointed the gun. Lyle pointed the gun and shot him. He then went over and shot him in the head. I was unable to shoot my mom and she tried to get away, so Lyle shot her too. After it looked like my mother was dead, I shot her twice with my gun. Craig then agreed to wear a wire the next time he saw Erik. So on November 19th of 1989, Craig wears a wire to dinner with Erik, and Craig, at the request of the police, wore a tape recorder to a 2-hour dinner at Gladstone's with his friend. And when they spoke about that evening, Erik changed his story. So then on December 11th, 1989, Oziel gets Lyle and Erik on tape in their sessions. Now, remember, they've already signed a waiver of confidentiality. So that would also be another reason why they would not confide in him that they were being abused, because they knew that he would just tell their father, because he was owned by their father, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So mid-December 1989, Judalyn Smith moves into the Oziel home. And about a week after the Oziel made the tape, she moved into his house, even as his wife and 2 children remained there. Other reports say she moved in sometime in November even. So then in 1990, the brothers are arrested. March 5th, 1990, Judalyn goes to the police. Judalyn told police that only had Lyle and Erik confess, but Oziel had tapes of their confessions. After, per the New York Times, officers searched Dr. Oziel's home under a warrant, seizing records and tape recordings. On March 8th of 1990, Lyle is arrested. Beverly Hills police arrested Lyle outside his parents' mansion. On March 11th, 1990, Erik turns himself in. And I want you to understand, Erik could have let his brother take the whole fucking bag. And his brother would have.
Yeah, he would have.
But he turned himself in because he did not want his brother to go down for this by himself.
Right.
So an 18-year-old kid walks into a police station and turns himself in because he hopes that it will save his brother somehow. And a 21-year-old kid takes the life of his parents because he thinks it's going to save the life of his kid brother. I want you guys to think about the mentality going on in these 2 individuals' heads while their parents are sitting on a fucking couch just eating popcorn and watching a movie. So in 1991 and 1992, the battle over the admissibility of Oziel's tapes happens, and remained locked in a battle over whether or not the recording that Oziel made could be used during the trial. Prior to trial on the merits, the parties disputed whether certain tapes made by the brother psychologist during psychotherapy sessions would be admissible. The defendants argued that the material is privileged patient-therapist communication protected from disclosure. The California Court of Appeal held the material was not privileged. A portion of the material was deemed outside the scope of privilege pursuant to California Evidence Code. So the so-called dangerous patient expectation to otherwise privilege and information. Another portion of the material was deemed not privileged since the court concluded the communications between the psychologist and the brothers occurred during sessions held not for the purpose of therapy. That's some bull fucking shit.
Yeah.
In August 1992, the Supreme Court of California ruled 2 out of 4 of Oziel's recordings were admissible under the dangerous patient exception, but the other 2 were not, including one where Erik admits to the murders because they were privileged communication. So in 1993, the first trial begins, and Jill Lansing is the one that's representing Lyle, and Leslie Abramson is who represented the defended Erik. They were tried together, but there were separate juries for each of them because some evidence was admissible against one brother and not the other. Both brothers testified about the sexual abuse they endured. The trial did air on Court TV. This is back in the early days of Court TV. The Menendez trial was notable for several reasons. One of the main reasons was the level of media coverage it received. The trial was broadcast on national television and was followed closely by the American public. The defense was also the first time the defense of abuse was used in a murder case. So this was the first time that they ever tried that as a defense, which is interesting. In 1994 is the mistrial. They get hung juries in the murder trials of Lyle and Erik Menendez. Jurors indicated that what threw the panel into disarray was the question of how seriously the brothers had been abused and the extent to which that abuse justified their actions. So in 1995, the second trial begins, and this is, like we said, right after 8 days after the acquittal of O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
We've got their trial happening. In 1995, the private diary of Lyle Menendez, in his own words, was published. As the publisher writes in Lyle's own voice, listeners can hear him as he speaks to Norma Novalli, with whom he corresponded for years. Listen as he divulges to Norma many never-before-shared secrets, and then decide for yourself what caused the Menendez brothers to commit their horrifying crime. So that's interesting. So on July 23rd, 1995, the second trial begins. Judge Weisberg banned cameras for the courtroom, so the American public could not see what was going on. Because of the book, Lyle could not testify again, so he screwed himself by putting that book out there. And per the New York Times, prosecutors had let the brothers' molestation accusations go unchallenged at the first trials, went right at Erik Menendez when he took the stand, seeing doubt about whether the abuse had happened at all. And so in 1996, conviction and sentencing, March 21st, 1996, Lyle and Erik are both convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder. As the trial wound to a close, the judge, Stanley Weisberg, ruled that the abuse excuse argument could not be used at all. The ruling essentially forced jurors to decide between letting the brothers off entirely because they had taken manslaughter off the table, or convicting them of murder. So the Times reporter at the time, the jury accepted the prosecution's argument that the pair executed their mother and father in order to tap into the family fortune, rejecting the defense's contention that the killings were a response to abuse. And then on July 2nd, 1996, Weisberg sentences Lyle and Erik to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I think they deserve to tap into the family fortune.
Absolutely. Of the Billionaires Boys Club? Yeah. Oh, it's a hell of a movie. It's a hell of a little mini series. Let me tell you, it is good. It is good.
Really?
The Billionaire Boys Club. Ooh,
I haven't seen
such a good one. I freaking loved it. It's good. So let's walk them through what happened the day of the murders. Yeah, let's walk them through that, Mamie, please.
So let me think here. They got up.
Thanks, Becky.
And Lyle talked to Jose again.
Mm-hmm.
And Jose was flipping out. That's the day he told Erik, was yelling at Erik and told him to get upstairs, get in your room and wait for me. And so he went up there and he shut the door and he locked it. And Jose's standing outside the door. He's pounding on the door, open this goddamn door. And he just goes up and unlocks it real quiet and then runs to the other side of his room. And of course, he comes in. He's pissed. He's throwing him around the room. He throws him. He throws him on the bed. He goes to get on the bed, but he was able to get away from him. And he ran downstairs. And he says to his mom, or he's crying, and the mom says, you know, what are you crying about? And he goes, you wouldn't understand. She goes, I understand a lot more than you think I do. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She goes, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't know what's going on? And he's like, you knew? And he screamed that he hated her. And she said, you know, why would I help you? No one was helping me. So he ran out to go to the guest house.
Just stop right there.
Uh-huh.
What kind of fucking mother says that to her kid?
Right?
Why you're going to make it about you right now?
Oh, yeah.
Your child is standing in front of you crying, and your answer to them is that she knew everything. And why should I help you? Why should I help you?
That's what I'm
saying.
No one
helped
were
me.
they a team? Like what?
Like you fucking piece of shit.
Right? No, they had
dude.
no
If she
hope.
was standing in front of me right now, I would freaking unalive the bitch.
Right?
Sorry, I would.
There's no hope. Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
You guys didn't help me, you know, and she would say that throughout their life. Well, to Erik, anyways, that you were no help to me. You know, that you ruined my life when you were born. And I mean, just the constant abuse of some sort always going on. That's what I'm saying. I feel like this kid, well, man now, but I feel like he's a miracle that he is sane.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Honest to God.
Sure.
So,
for sure.
You know, and if he did cry, he would get beat for that. And why can't you be more like your brother? And you know, it was just hard. So he goes up to the guest house where Lyle's at, and the mom's following. She's pissed, and they have an argument about all the things that were going on, and that he's telling Lyle in front of, you know, did you know she knew? And then he started talking to her, and then he's Erik standing behind Lyle, and I guess they said that happened a lot because Lyle was always protecting him and he would always stand behind him. And this is going by memory. I didn't write this part down, so give me 1 sec.
Yeah, no problem.
Then they got out to get away from her. They went into the driveway. I don't know how they ended up back in.
Hold on.
Does it say anything on there?
Hold on. It doesn't on this article, but I'll see if I can find it. Okay.
They came out of the guest house. Oh, the dad was standing there. Never mind. The dad was where they were running. So they ran into their rooms to grab the pew-pews. I don't know if I can say it on here, but they ran in their rooms to grab the shotguns.
The shotguns, yeah, you can say it on here.
Because they saw the dad and they're like, all right, this is it. It's going to happen. That's how that happened, yes. When they came down, though, they were both the mom had come in as they were going upstairs, and the dad grabbed the mom by the arm and drug her into the den. And so they were afraid that when the parents came out, that that's what was going to happen. They had to get what they had to get. They had to get their guns and get downstairs before they came out. It was either going to be them or them, one or the other.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. And they busted into the den and started firing.
Wow.
And that's how, and Erik was like, he wasn't even thinking about it. He was just loading and shooting and loading and shooting and loading and shooting. That's a moment of psychosis for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're out of your mind at that point.
Yeah.
Not saying it's okay. I mean, because they even said, no, we should not have taken their lives. We should not have. But I don't feel that they are a danger to society, like, at all.
Right.
Like, at
Right.
all.
No, I don't either. I do not see
And I
them
can't
being a
imagine if
danger.
it was happening to me, and then my younger sister or my younger brother starts telling me it's happening to them. I mean, if you can literally put yourself in that position as a child or even as a parent, think about what you would do as a mother. Think about what you would do. That person would not be alive if I found out they were doing something like that to my kid.
Yeah.
If I looked at my son and I saw blisters on him down there.
No way. No.
Why are you taking your son to the doctor for a collapsed pharynx or whatever it was? What was going on? Yeah. And there were several doctor's appointments with lacerations and bruising and yeah. So there is documented proof of that. It's not,
I just
it's heartbreaking.
I don't know how you can't think it was imminent danger. I just don't know how you can think it wasn't imminent danger.
This is why it's taken me so long to really watch that, because I remember it being very difficult. And like I said, I had to keep pausing. I'm glad you called me a couple times today, because I was like, whew, this is really like, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I wish them the absolute best. And I'm going to say it. I'm proud of who they are today, considering what they went through.
I am too. And I think that they have made the right steps to rehabilitate themselves, to not be the spoiled rich kids that they were seen as arrogant and everything else while they were sitting in a court of law,
right,
for murdering their parents. And I do agree they came off that way. But you also have to think they're being told by other attorneys, don't show emotion, don't react to anything that anyone says, don't do this, don't do that, because that's what every attorney tells you. Don't react to the testimony, don't do this, don't do that. And having to discuss what happened to them and hear what it's just too...
Erik had to stop at one point and take a break. Like, it was a lot. It's a lot. And I was surprised Lyle didn't, because I mean, he was really just wow. And it's like, you do not have that real emotion like that over something that did not happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Gypsy wasn't even that good. Look at her.
I'm telling you guys, this case is one of the heartbreaking ones.
It very much is. It very much is.
I feel like the conversations we can have about it today are so vastly different than the conversations we would have had about it in 1989,
You're right,
1991,
Kathy,
92, 93, 94, 95, 96, because they're right. Boys were not seen as being abuse victims.
Mm-mm.
Boys were you're a man. How can anybody do that to you?
Yeah.
You
You must
know,
have liked it.
you must have liked it. You must
Yeah.
have wanted it.
Yeah.
I think about, it brings me back to the Quiet on the Set situation with Drake
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
And these people, these grown fucking adults,
Yeah.
knowing that it is Drake Bell that is the victim, sitting in a court of law on the
Mm-hmm.
side of Peck
On the
and
side of Peck.
writing these fucking horrid
Yep.
letters in
Mm-hmm.
support of him, stating that it's a mistake, that he must have been seduced by this teenager. He's a good guy. We know that he's beating himself up for this. He would never have done this without provocation from a kid.
Right.
From a fucking kid. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The last
Yeah.
time I had a 14-year-old try to provoke me into anything, I showed that 14-year-old exactly how I'm the adult and they are the child. And there was no way I would be provoked into some shit like that. How dare you blame the victim in that? A 14, 15-year-old boy who is being taken advantage of in the worst fucking way at a very vulnerable time in his childhood for rather many reasons.
Right.
And you're going to sit here and you're going to justify a grown ass, nasty, sleazy pickle boy of a man.
Yeah.
In these fucking just glowing letters about what a great guy he
Right.
is.
Right. I
It's
mean, Amanda Bynes ain't ever
disgusting.
going to be the same.
She'll never be the same.
She'll never be the same. I mean,
No.
it really is.
They destroyed her. Look at
These
Britney.
are
She'll never.
powerful. That's another thing too. You know, they're powerful
men.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful. Like Kathy was saying, I think she wanted to talk about the kid from Menudo. I think there was probably a lot more Menudo members that it was happening to.
Absolutely.
They said that's why they kept getting new ones that were young.
Yeah, that is
you
why.
Notice how many they went through when they get a certain age. They couldn't be in the group.
After 16, they were thrown out of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Just literally, yep, you're 16. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, you want a solo career? I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what other reason do you have for doing that? Huh?
Right. Right.
Because what, you're not attracted to 16-year-olds because now they look like men and not little boys?
You know, it's pretty bad. Like, a lot of prostitutes, there's not a whole hell of a lot they won't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not bagging on them. I'm just saying they got to make their money, whatever. But for a madam to tell you, hey, we're cutting you off. The girls are complaining about you. You're hurting them. I've seen them. I've seen the marks on them. You know, you can't come here anymore. How bad does that have to be? I mean, he was strangling them and hurting them.
What an evil fuck.
He was a bad, bad man. Bad, bad man. He needed to be gone. It's just so sad that it had to be the boys that had to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Do we know how old Kitty
Did that Menudo boy,
was?
did he pass away?
Oh, she was 47. Yes. I believe he did. Yeah.
Aww.
I didn't realize Kitty was 2 years older than Jose. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really interesting. Because
Yeah.
I would have suspected that she would have been younger.
Mm-hmm.
And been, maybe groomed by him. But she's 2 years older than him.
She's older.
And she seems just as, when two sick individuals get together, such as Carla Homolka and what the fuck is his name?
Hey, Emma.
And Barbie Killers. Paul Bernardo. They were both equally sick on their own. But Bernardo had not committed a murder until he got with Carla. And Carla and him influenced each other into being worse and worse and disgusting and disgusting. She lives near you? Dude, we need to talk about that because I'm telling you, I cannot understand how she's out walking around and has children. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
That fucking case pisses me the fuck off. The fuck off.
Yeah.
But you know, these people, these types of couples who are equally evil exist. And they feed off of each other's depravity. And like you said, were Kitty and Jose a children's school were mad she was volunteering at schools? Yeah, I can't understand that at all. What the fuck?
Yeah.
We got to table that conversation until another day because let me tell you, I can go off on the Homolka and Bernardo case like there's no tomorrow. We did a radio show on it, me, Christina, and Colleen, and let me tell you, it was very hard for me to get through that without just losing my fucking noodle. When I found out she had kids, I just lost my shit.
Right.
It just made me so. I'm like, what in the world is anyone thinking allowing this woman to have children?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just, God, and then you're going to let her around other people's children. Like, how disrespectful to other people and their children. Sorry. That's how I feel about Gypsy too.
Yeah.
I would not want Gypsy volunteering at my grandson's
school. I
wouldn't
want her living by me. I wouldn't want her anywhere around me.
Right. Right. Like, exactly. But anyway, Luke Magnotta case, he lived near me too. Yeah, I want to talk about that. That's a case I've been interested in for a long time. He had contact with Carla Homolka, but that's the Cats video, the Cats Netflix special. I can't think of the name of it right now. Cats. It's the ones that are about Luke Magnotta. Do you know who that is? The guy who yeah, it's crazy. What is it called? What is that damn freaking documentary? The Cats documentary. Netflix.
Don't F with cats.
Don't F with cats. Yeah, that's it. Don't F with cats. That's what it was. Thank you. That's a great documentary about that. And there is a connection between Homolka and Magnotta in that. It's really interesting. Okay, so you know, I feel like this case is going to be the next big media case everybody follows. And I'm hoping like shit that this knocks that little freaking lying demon off the networks.
Yeah.
And nobody hears from her.
Off her little freaking pedestal.
And I think that's why she won't talk about them. The reason I think she won't talk about them is she knows that if they get released, her little shit show is over. Her little shit show is over.
Candle to them.
No. You want talking about abuse case?
Yeah, we're talking about real versus not real.
Right. Real versus, well, I was taught to lie and cheat and steal. Isn't that still abuse? Sure. Sure, if you want to call it that. Sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think she went through typical. We all do. Some of us have gone through worse. But there's no perfect parents. Come on.
Kendall and I talked about this again today.
Who?
Kendall.
Oh, uh-huh.
Who has a similar story to Gypsy's.
Right.
Her mother did abuse her medically and other ways and taught her to lie and cheat and steal. But it was all, again, for the benefit of Kendall's mother, who was, you know, addicted. Okay. And I thought about it again today after talking with her. And to me, again, she said, but don't you understand? Don't you see that that's psychological abuse to teach your child to lie and cheat and steal and all of that? And I said, yes, I can understand
Yeah.
that. But in the same thought process, if you're teaching your child to lie and cheat and steal, and it's all benefiting them, not their mother, them,
like I said,
again, what is the level of abuse you actually believe that to be?
Look at the mafia families.
That's right.
You know?
And I said, and
You
can't
taught
you
me to
make
be
this
way. That doesn't mean you're gonna you're not gonna flip
right?
your shit on the it's just your way of life.
Like, again, so if you have that compassion for Gypsy, where's the compassion for Dee Dee, who grew up in the same family teaching her the same values?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, who's going to break this cycle? Because it sure as shit ain't going to be Gypsy.
She's
already putting her baby out there.
Her chromosome disorder is showing in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
In so many ways. So many of her symptoms are just right in our faces. And
right in our faces.
People are just ignoring it.
Yeah.
But she is not okay. You know what I mean? Can you imagine the time Dee Dee? Oh my God. She was probably just the biggest freaking brat. Like, I would have been like, go, get out. Yes, you can leave. Go run away with Nick. Get the hell out of here.
Right.
She was a little shit. I don't care. Look at her now. Forget about it.
She's a spoiled, rotten
She got
brat.
everything she wanted. Get out of my face. Miss me with that. Miss me with that. People act like
I
they
don't know any other abuse victims that had a life like she did.
No.
Not one.
No. I mean, I got my ass kicked and I never got to go to Disneyland.
I mean, my mother still did things for me, but I know I wasn't on no billionaire's fucking boat.
No, I didn't get to meet fucking
I didn't get to go to Miranda Lambert concerts every fucking time they came in. My mother didn't take me to the movie theater 3 times a fucking week. Yes, my mom took me to Disneyland, and I love my mom, and my mom was abusive, but I understand it wasn't my mother. It was the medication that my mother was on, and my mother truly did love me, and my mother was under outrageous amounts of stress from my father being a deadbeat, you know. But my mother was also my biggest champion. I've got to tell you, there was nothing that woman wouldn't have done for me. And I loved my mother, but we had a very toxic relationship. My husband could testify it carried on into adulthood.
Yeah.
He said he'd never seen a mother and daughter fight like that. And I said, you don't understand the relationship we have, because it's very much love-hate. I love my mother. I hate what she does and how she is, but I loved her. And my mother, as a grandmother, redeemed herself.
Was wonderful, right?
My mother was one of the best grandmothers I've ever seen, and she came to me after having my oldest daughter, and my mom did say to me, there's so many things I did wrong with you, and I'm so sorry. I don't know why that was the way I was, and I really wish that it had not happened that way, and you endured things that no child should ever have to endure, and I'm so sorry.
I'm glad you had that, though. I'm glad that
I am too.
You know?
Yeah.
You needed to hear that.
I did, because I needed her to take accountability for it.
Absolutely.
And my mother was a struggling
to me,
single mom.
He's just the same jackass, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
No, when my mother passed, by the time, this is something I tried to explain to my children about how fleeting time is.
Yeah.
I spent 25 years battling my mother and angry at my mother. I spent 3 years trying to repair all of that. And by the time I became where my mother was truly my best friend, my mother passed within a month of moving into my home so I could take care of her.
Right.
And it fucked me up. I was 29 years old when my mother passed. I was an only child. You know, when I talk about my sisters, 2 of them are my sisters that I just grew up with, and we adopted each other as sisters.
As sisters, right.
And then now I've met my birth family, and I have 7 siblings, but I've only met 2 of them. I one on my mother's side and one on my father's side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so thankful for them because it's so funny how my sister and I especially grew up very close in proximity to each other. Didn't even know that, which is so weird. But how similar our thought processes, our personalities are, and we didn't grow up together. You know, it's very interesting to me.
Right.
And, you know, I thank God for them because I don't know if I would have made it through last year without them, you know, and meeting them. And like I said, last year was one of the best, worst years of my life. I was in the hospital so much, but, and I think that's why I finally decided to, you know, I didn't want to take the DNA test for a long time. My best friend convinced me or one of my best friends, he convinced me to do it. He paid for it for a birthday gift or a Christmas gift for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were moving during COVID, it was sitting on my desk and I had not taken it, and he had bought it probably 2 years prior. And I decided to I just swabbed my mouth, threw it in there and put it in the mailbox. I was like, fine, fuck it. Took me another year before I even opened the results of any of it. I didn't want to see any of it. I never wanted to dishonor my mother. That was my mother, you know. But I finally opened it, and it's funny because I had matches, but they were all like weird matches. They weren't like, a lot of times when you have half siblings, they show up as cousins in your family tree on Ancestry and 23andMe and those things. So my sister actually showed up as my cousin, and I didn't talk to her for a long time. And then this last year, I don't know what prompted me to do it other than the fact that I really was struggling with my own mortality and thinking I could die from everything that was going on, and that my husband could die and I could be alone because I don't speak with my mother's family after, you know, the whole, we knew what was going on. We didn't do anything. Right. Fucking assholes. You know, and I contacted my sister, and within, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, we were in Texas meeting my mother. And it's not her mother, you know, she's my dad's daughter, and my mother and my brother. And Renee went with me, and that was the first time we met, but she didn't want me to go by myself. And so she came and we met each other. And I mean, it changed my life. It really did. And it's part of the healing process that I've gone through. But I mean, I had a horrible time with my mom growing up.
Same.
But I could never imagine actually taking her life.
I never even raised my hand to my mother. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, I hated my mother in my teens growing up.
Yep.
Like, hated her. Did everything I could to get away from her. But I would never even, oh yeah, I thought about it. I'm like, man, I'd love to just freaking give her a haymaker right across the fucking chin. But no. Would I do it? No. Never. No. Would never even raise my hand to her. Like, are you serious?
Thank you, Bubbles. Thank you, Bubbles.
Hey, Bubbles. Hey.
Thank you, sweetheart. You know, I mean, it was hard when my mom passed. I was so devastated because, like I said, I had just got to a point where I was so happy that I had my mom and that my children had my mother. And that's all they had. They were not close with my husband's family for various reasons. Like my mother, it was the best grandmother I've ever seen. And I had an amazing grandmother. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
that's so redeemable. That just is, you know, when you see them loving your children, it really does warm your heart. It really does.
Yeah.
Missouri Watching, 1969. I was 30 when I made a medical call to let my mom
I had
go.
to make the medical call.
We were
My
like
mom
water
had
and
a
oil. I
Yep.
feel you on that.
My mother had a stroke.
Cancer
And
diagnosed. I was only a child who stood by her until death.
it's hard. And I realized, I had a very similar relationship with my middle daughter for years.
Yeah.
Because of the just absolute anger that she harbored at the time from her own childhood traumas.
It was like that with my oldest.
And I just
we
thought
butted heads a lot.
I literally thought she would leave my home at 18 and never come home. And so I set out to make her strong.
Right.
Because I knew if she was going to walk through this world without her mama,
yep,
it was going to be a tough walk.
She was the hardest one.
Because I've walked without
she
my
was the
mama.
hardest one for me to leave when I had to leave Vegas. She was the hardest one for me to leave.
Yeah. It was
I couldn't make it. I was driving. I couldn't make it past the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
Like we stopped and stayed. I couldn't even drive. I was crying so hard. It was so forget about it. I got you on that. There's
I can't
no
leave
love
my
like
kids.
it.
No.
But man, those teen years, holy,
they're
they are
the
demons.
worst.
They are demons at teens. They are little damn
It
demons.
was bad. It was bad. And then, after my daughter had my grandson, and she came to me and she said, "Mama, thank you for never giving up on me and making me who I am today." And I realized it was all worth it in that moment.
That hits you. It gives everything value, right?
But I explained to her
you went
again.
through with her,
Yeah.
it gives it all value then.
I know. I explained to her again. I was like, don't let my mom and I's relationship be what happens to us.
Right.
Because there's going to come a time where you're going to have to walk through this world without your mama.
Right.
And I've been doing it for a long time, and it doesn't get any easier.
No.
It's very hard.
Yeah, it is.
And, I lost her 2 months before I turned 30 and a week before Thanksgiving. And I was so angry at God for so long.
Right.
And, what am I supposed to be thankful for at Thanksgiving? My mother is gone.
Right.
You took my mom 1 week before we're supposed to talk about how thankful we are for what we have. You just took what I was thankful for. I was angry. Oh, was I angry.
Yeah.
But
it's part of the grieving process, though. Anger is part of it.
It is. It is. I had to come to terms with it. But I think about the things my mother did do and how wonderful she could be, and how there was way more bad. I mean, way more good than ever there was bad,
Right.
with my mother. But I think about these boys who had to endure this at the hands of the two people.
That's right.
That their whole fucking job in life is to take care of these children.
Right.
And then to have to feel that your only true way out is to kill them.
Yeah, no.
Can you imagine
No,
the nightmares they've lived with there for the last 35 years?
Right? Hey, Vestula. Yeah, big hugs to Fancy.
Oh, thank you guys. I just can't imagine what these men have gone through.
Right. I mean,
and at what point do we as a community, as a society, at what point do we decide it's not okay to just lock people up, throw away the key, and walk away?
Yeah.
These are humans. These are people. They have reasons for what they did. And in this case, I feel the only compassionate road is to allow them to get out and enjoy the rest of their life.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that they can try to make the world a better place.
A better place. Yeah.
And then I think about how Gypsy wants to sit up there and talk about her mother and the way that she does, and villainize someone who by all accounts gave you a pretty fucking epic life, little girl.
Yeah.
How disrespectful can you possibly be?
The fact that she still does it.
Yeah. And that Christy has no problem with it, and Rod has no problem of it. Christy, good for her. Rod, I think Dee Dee got what she asked for.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 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 And I am so concerned for that child.
Oh, girl.
An innocent child. And Gypsy was an innocent child.
It honestly upsets my stomach.
It upsets my stomach.
If I think about it too long and too far into the child's life, like how things are going to be when the child goes to school, and how things are going to be when they don't get invited to birthday parties, and how things are going to be when kids come up to them and say, you know, no, this happened, blah, blah, blah. My mom said, blah, blah, blah. My dad said, that kid, forget about it. She's going to have to homeschool that child.
And how is that going to work when she can't even pass the GED herself? Like, you know, it took her forever.
Yep.
Like, and there's no better options for the child. That's the problem.
You're our people, Kathy. That's why.
I know. I have looked at this case from every, or this situation, every which way from Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I have thought about what would be the best option for this child. And there's only one that I can think of. Well, there's two, but I don't wish one on anything.
If Ryan.
No.
No.
Nope. Because I don't think that, I think Ryan is part of this. I think he's either a paid actor or he is just fine with going along with all of it. I don't believe any of it anymore. I don't believe anything these people say. And I think they all are horrible people with horrible intentions in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't trust any of them. I think the best thing for this child first would have been not to have a child.
Yeah, she should have never made that decision.
But I think the child should be adopted. It's the only chance that it has at being
not going to happen.
Having a normal life, and it's not.
If anything, it'll end up with Christy.
I'm hoping that it won't end up with Christy. I'm hoping at very least that it ends up with Mia or Dylan. Dylan has a beautiful family. Dylan has left. Dylan does not participate in any of this bullshit.
Away. He stays out of it.
He stays out of it. He does not condone these things. He does not want to be the spectacle that the rest of his family is. And while I think Mia would be a good option, and the fact that I'm sure she will love this child and give it everything she can, she's still part of the public eye in this. So Dylan would probably be the best option.
Well,
even better than Ryan.
Gypsy says the biggest thing that bothers her is people that say that she's not going to be able to be a good mom. Well, I'm going to
You're not being a good mom right now.
Mom, Gypsy. You will not, because you can't even take care of yourself. You can't even take care of your own mental needs, your own health needs. And you think you're going to do that for a child?
You can't even admit what you've done. You can't take responsibility for your actions.
No, that's what I'm saying. She's not even.
And nobody in that family, not a single soul, is trying to make her be accountable for anything.
Like I said, she was in prison for 8 years, okay? I've been in treatment. Like 3 times now. But either way, what we learn in there is that when you get out, you have to wait at least a year. And this is just treatment. This isn't prison.
Right.
But you should wait at least a year before you even think about getting into a relationship with somebody. You know, they say, like, buy a plant, You can take care of that.
Plant for a
Get yourself
year,
an
take care of the plant.
animal. If you can keep
Right.
that animal and take care of it and love it, and then maybe think about, but you really got to do so much work. They say it's a selfish program for a reason, because you are working on yourself on a daily.
Yeah.
On a daily. Like like I said before, a 12-step program could be good for anybody. It doesn't just have to be for, alcoholics and addicts. Like it truly is a good form to live by. It really is. But anyhow, and she comes out, and within 6 months, she's had how many relationships?
Yeah.
How many pregnancies? And can you tell me who goes to a fertility doctor that's not trying to get pregnant?
She's not trying to get pregnant, but she's at the fertility doctor.
I do. I just laugh
I
at the
do.
people.
I can't understand.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
It blows my mind. And I have this conversation with people that I know that I like that freaking support her. And I'm like,
yeah,
but why?
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
And the only thing that I find is a very common thread among people that support her is that they all have their own traumas that they are projecting onto
Through
her.
Yeah.
I did it for 2 years. For 2 years, I projected my traumas as her traumas. And I understood her on that level of what I went through.
The truth,
once you know the truth, how?
That's what I'm saying.
How?
I mean, the truth is very blatant.
Yeah.
It's very blatant.
Yeah.
How everything happened isn't quite blatant. How much of a part she took or didn't take, I would say took, isn't blatant, but it's definitely the lies and the cons and everything. Those are all very blatant. Like, you would have to be, I don't even know, new. I don't know. A recluse. I have no idea. I have no idea what kind of person supports her, because I know the truth.
Well, I know the truth. And the truth is this. I'm going to be honest with you. The more and more I have investigated this case, especially this year, the more and more I realize a massive amount of fraud.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't start on a massive level until it was Gypsy in charge of things. When she was 17 years old and they move into the fucking Habitat house, her mother was already on disability. She was already when Gypsy was 17, she was already not able to do things the way she had done them before. And I think the biggest fraud that Dee Dee did, the biggest one, besides bad checks and things like that, writing no, I'm not even considering that. Okay. Like that's a desperate mother who does desperate things to keep food on their fucking table, which is what all this really is. Okay. It's really just a desperate need for Dee Dee to fucking provide for her very fucking sick kid who's a brat. But the only thing that I can really tie directly to Gypsy, or not Gypsy, even Gypsy participated in this, and we know she did, and she's admitted she did, is the lie they told to get out of Missouri for Hurricane Katrina. And before that, I don't see the fraud. I don't. She was in the Special Olympics. Yeah. You know why she was in the Special Olympics? Because she qualifies to be in the Special Olympics. Why was she able to stay at the Ronald McDonald House? Because she qualified for services. Why was she on disability? Because she qualified for services. Why did Medicaid not go after her and prosecute for fraud? Because she qualified for services. Dee Dee told one big lie. She has cancer now. Do I think there's a possibility that she did have cancer at 5? You bet your fucking ass I do.
Mm-hmm.
There is an absolute possibility. It could be one or the other. Serious to God. It is a 50-50 either way. I'm leaning towards, I think she actually had cancer. I didn't think that before.
It's
I do
probable.
now.
Yeah.
It's very probable.
Yeah.
And I've gone over many times why it's probable. But Dee Dee had Gypsy decided to tell this doctor in Missouri that was not Dr. Beckerman, but they knew that that's where Dr. Beckerman was because he was still seeing her.
Mm-hmm.
She told him that she had cancer so that they would airlift her out.
To get her
And
out.
then when she got there, she had to continue that for some extent. So this is 2005, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The only person that verified that Gypsy did in fact have cancer is a dentist that stated it was why he was treating her for all of her dental shit.
Right.
And that dentist is who wrote the letter to Hope Lodge to allow them to stay at Hope Lodge. Not a regular doctor, not an oncologist, not anything like that. A fucking dentist.
A dentist.
And she got her fucking
Who
teeth
didn't
fixed.
question the cancer.
No, didn't question it. Nothing.
No.
No. So he freaking writes this letter and he puts on there that he is actively treating her. So she was able to stay in the Hope Lodge for 3 months until Beckerman convinced the hospital to give this disabled mother and daughter a house in Aurora.
Right.
And then guess what? She didn't go to the doctor for many years. Hardly at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, don't these victims, don't they get worse, not better?
Yes. Gypsy's own words. I lived a normal life in
most
Aurora.
Victims, I feel like, don't even survive.
No, they don't.
You know?
They don't. And it's like
she's really, really, really doing a disservice to people who really, really have gone through that. I mean, and she's doing a disservice to anybody else who has been abused in any other way. Because, like I said, she's a victim to everything. If it's been done to her. But she's not a victim of anything at all.
Right.
Except for not being. She's not an advocate. She needs to be fired. I fire you. You are not my advocate.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
You're fired.
You're fired. Like, it's so insulting to me. It's so insulting.
So sorry,
I'm so sorry, Stephanie. It's absolutely insulting that she is out here being called an advocate, but nobody wants to ask her.
And nobody pushes.
What are you advocating for?
Right.
What did you do? What have you done?
Really?
Oh my goodness. Tell me more about you advocating. Did you write a petition? Are you trying to get a law passed? Are you working on any cases? Now, I met Kim K. And guess what, guys? I heard, I have not verified it because I don't watch the fucking Kardashians.
Yeah.
But did you know that the Gypsy Rose segment supposedly got pulled?
Oh, did it? I'll have to check that out.
Let me know, because that's what I was told. Which
is on Hulu, right?
So interesting. I don't fucking know. I don't watch the Kardashians. I don't like them. So guess what I don't do? I don't watch
them either,
them.
But I think they're on.
I don't stalk them. I don't harass them. I don't say shitty shit about them. I don't make memes all day long about them. I don't write Dramatica pages about them. You know what I don't do? I don't watch them. That's how I show that I don't like the Kardashians. I don't watch them. I don't subscribe to their bullshit.
Kathy said her platform, it's just all these free clothes, makeup, and you know, there's nothing about reform. There's nothing about advocacy. There's nothing.
No.
And instead of being
disgusting.
In groups where, you know, there could be other people, she's in people's chats. She's in people's lives, being snarky. She's in people's comments being snarky.
I bet you wouldn't say that to my face.
Oh, for the love
Baby,
of God.
I'm going to say it to your face.
I would say it. I'll say it to your face, your back, your nose, whatever. I'll say it to everything.
Trust me. I will stand 10 toes down and say to you exactly what I think.
She's not worth saying anything to because the bitch don't get it. She doesn't.
And her supporters don't get it. So I'm talking to deaf ears. Like,
I mean, like, she just doesn't get it. She thinks she is queen shit of the turd hill.
Yeah.
I mean, she really does.
Yeah.
You're lucky to be with me. I mean, to tell Ken to say that on that podcast. Oh, yeah, and I lost weight. La, 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 la. He found what I lost. Like, you rude little shit.
Stephanie, we've talked about that a couple of times, and I have said that the family, the extended family, not the immediate family, has considered doing so, and they are looking into their options. The other family claims that the reason that they can't do it or won't do it is because they're worried about the statute of limitations and what she could do to the grandfather and all that shit. Right. But here's my opinion on it, and I'm gonna tell you what, it's not a popular opinion, I'm assuming. My opinion is that I know these people. I've sat in their homes. I've listened to the stories they told me. And when they told me the stories in the first place, I had a problem believing anything they were saying. But on top of that, I know for a fact that their stories have changed since I sat with them, since Gypsy's Revenge sat with them to today.
Yeah.
Their story is not the same. They have lied. They have sold out. And when I saw Confessions, was it Confessions or Life After Lockup? I don't know which one, because I haven't watched all of Life After Lockup, because I just haven't.
I don't know.
But when
I hear what you say.
Christy is taking her to the graveyard, which, by the way, do you know that graveyard is literally next door to Emma's house, or to Claude Senior's house? It's right there. It's literally their next door. It's the lot next to theirs. Mm-hmm. So that is their family cemetery.
Oh,
mind you, just so you guys know.
So she's just right on their property.
So she's right on the property, and I was too. I stood in front of that same headstone, and Christy turns around, and she stated that she's the one who asked Claudia, "Did you think that your sister had something to do with your mother's death?" And she said that Claudia answered her, "Well, I didn't, but I do now." I wanted to fucking puke. I was so fucking angry. Because first of all, that's not the way they told me the story. They didn't tell me that Christy suggested that. They told me that they suspected it.
Right.
And Christy had told me the same thing. And then to hear her say that on Prison Confessions, mm-hmm. that she's supposedly the one that put that thought process in their heads for no fucking reason, pisses me the fuck off.
Oh yeah, she's evil to the core.
To the core.
That one there, I'm telling you now. Oh, I mean, just look at her. Just look at her. Blair Witch ain't got nothing on her. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. She's scary. She scares me. She scares me.
I agree, Susie. They both scare me. And I don't scare easy.
No, that she's a scary woman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
She's a hell of a lot more scary. She's a hell of a lot more scary than I ever would think Dee Dee was.
Absolutely.
I don't hear people describe Christy as kind and caring and loving. I don't hear them describe her that way. Only the idiots that believe her rhetoric and her bullshit. But most people
Rod
do not.
Dick about what's going on.
He either knows.
He either knew.
Either he
handsome
knows
man running
dick,
around.
throwing his dick into everybody.
Yeah.
Either he knows dick or he knows everything. There's only two possibilities there. Either he has buried his head as an ostrich into the sand so fucking far, and it's so far up Christie's fucking ass that he doesn't know anything, or he knows everything and he plays fucking dumb.
Right. Vestula said he plays dumb.
Yeah. I do too.
Stephanie, I think he plays his role for his benefit.
I think he looks the other way, but I also think he knows exactly what's going on, and I think he plays dumb. He's not a dumb guy. I've talked to him. He's not dumb, but he pretends to be dumb because it works for
he's
him.
sticking with that damn story, and he ain't changing it. Like, he is not going to tell her what she did was wrong. He's not going to tell her that.
Yeah.
How could you not tell her that?
Yes, I agree, Vestula.
Or not, what you did was still wrong.
Yep.
Menendez, what you did was still wrong. Even they understand that.
They understand it. They understood the assignment. Like,
right.
The assignment was to get better in prison so that I can be a productive member of society one day, regardless of whether I think that I'm going to get to go out in society or not. Like, Rob is there for the money. I agree. Yeah. I agree. Because, you know, back in the day when the money wasn't rolling in, Rod asked Christy to stop. That's how I became a PR rep for the family. Everybody thinks that I did it because I wanted to. No. I was working on a project. She was supposed to be promoting it because it's their story and it's in their contract for her to promote it. I was supposed to be pitching it and she was supposed to be promoting it.
Right.
And then when Gypsy and Rod told her they didn't want to do this anymore, they didn't want the interviews, they didn't want the stories, they didn't want more documentaries, they didn't want any of this shit. Christy came to me, told me that that's what they wanted, and told me, but we can't do that. So you need to be the face of this, and you just say that you're our official representative. And that's how I became a PR rep for Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And they made me a liar. And it pissed me off.
Yeah.
It really does piss me off.
Going to keep pushing their narrative, they didn't want you anymore.
Nope. It wasn't about whether or not I could get a project done. You know why I couldn't get a project done? Because it had been done.
Right.
And I didn't have enough of a different story because they'd already done it. She'd done all these documentaries. And the act had already come out. And sorry, whether you want to say that you participated in the act or not, the whole reason the act was made is because Michelle Dean was friends with you and interviewed you and appeared in Mommy Dead and Dearest, and that's how the act was made. You know?
Yeah. They do. So they pin innocent people. Absolutely.
Yeah. They get people who would never.
Vulnerable.
Yeah.
Innocent people.
Yeah. That's what they do. It's what this family does. And I have no sympathy for any of them at this point. Not any of them. Except for the ones that don't participate in this truth. This bullshit truth. These bullshit lies. Yep. What a night.
I tell you. That was a lot today. I mean,
that was a lot today, especially after the day I had yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a lot. We didn't get to have our fun night. We ended up canceling karaoke so we could talk about this. Susie, I don't think she did child corn. I think she did adult corn pretending to be a child.
For the littles community.
Allegedly, in my opinion, for entertainment and educational purposes only.
I cannot say fast like you. I always get it right at the end. But yeah,
I've gotten real good at it. When I first started, I fucked it all up all the time. I'd say it all wrong. And then everybody was like, you can pen that comment to your TikTok so you don't have to say it over and over again. I'm like, no, I kind of like saying it.
Yeah, because
every time I say it,
really
I say
bad.
it. Yeah, every time I say it with a purpose. Like
you really do. And I'm like, she says it in the same order every time, and you nail it, and it's fast, and I can't get it until the end. You have it out before I'm done even thinking about what you're saying.
Unless I'm being snarky about it, and then I'll slow it real slow.
Yeah.
Just allegedly, in my opinion, for entertainment and educational purposes only. Only.
That's me. Only.
Hey, how'd that case go telling everybody I couldn't call myself an expert?
What'd you say?
I said, how'd the case go of trying to make it so I couldn't call myself an expert? How'd that work out for y'all?
Oh, you are the
illustrious maestro.
You're not the only expert, but you are the leading expert.
Right. Nah, there's other people who've picked up the swords and done an amazing job.
They absolutely have.
Becca's done a great job, even though we don't agree on everything. We don't agree on everything.
Getting it out, yeah, for sure.
I think she's done an amazing job. I think that there's some new people that have come onto this that have done incredible jobs. There's some good TikTokers that I just adore. Ash Two Trippy's doing a good job.
Absolutely.
I think Ivory Rose is doing an amazing job. I love her content.
Yeah.
I just love the way she's so
yeah.
As that Jersey in her,
she's genuine, and it shows.
Yeah.
It shows.
Yeah, it does.
And I can
there's
listen
another
to
couple
who's genuine, and somebody that I feel is telling me what they feel is the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gypsy Cellmates are doing a great job. Rachel is doing a great job.
Yeah.
I am so proud of Rachel. You guys have no idea. Like, I've watched her come into her own with this, and
she's had a lot of battles that she has overcome. Like,
very many.
I'm proud of that girl.
I am super proud of that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I forgot to put her daughter's Girl Scout thing on my Facebook, but I will. I'll make sure I get to do that tonight, because
she's got other stuff.
Yeah, she's got her little girls and Girl Scouts, and I always support her in the Girl Scouts. So.
Girl Scouts.
Yeah, she's so cute too. She's such a cute little girl. Her daughters are so adorable. And her oldest son is awesome. I like him. He's autistic, and he's a good kid.
Yeah.
But I think she realized eventually that her son could have been a Nick. Yeah. But I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want this to happen to another person. I don't want what happened to Nicholas to happen. Oh, Susie. Girl.
She tried to get that allegedly in there,
yeah.
in my opinion.
I don't care.
But yeah, you nailed that one, Susie. You nailed that for sure.
Okay.
For sure. She's been getting a little bit I mean, people want to talk about unhinged. She's been a little unhinged. She's been blowing up a lot lately.
And she's been everywhere.
So I don't know. Hope she's okay. You know what they say, put it in the applesauce. Just saying.
Oh, no, I don't. I have no respect for her whatsoever. So sorry, Kathy. She's a liar. She's an instigator. She is a clout chaser.
Get ready. She's going to be doing a video now.
I'm sure she was, and I don't give a flying fuck.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Nina, I am so panini pressed over you. Fuck off. I mean, she steals my content. She steals my knowledge. She tries to pass it off as her own.
Other people I've seen her do that too. And I mean, I do understand that once it gets through so many hands, you don't know where the original came from. But there's been a couple, like the tattoo one.
What'd you say, baby?
I'm turning off these lights so I can go to bed.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. I'm getting off live right now, so it won't be noisy. But
Yeah, she is. She is. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Okay. Like, okay,
there's
look.
no reason to say things. And the reason why I said the applesauce thing is because that's her favorite thing to say about Fancy. You need to
Yeah.
put that stuff. Come on, you guys. You need to put that stuff in your applesauce. You know what? It's like, really? You're the first one to jump somebody's shit if they say something, any kind of negativity towards you, but you're going to make fun of somebody's mental health? How is that okay? How is that okay?
How
So
is it okay that
that's
she
where I
did
stand. I used to
did a
support her.
2-hour live
I did.
taking
I
every
really liked her.
freaking
I used to support her and like her and what have you. And then I
right?
saw like what she was, and I'm like, wow, I did not know you were like that. Like, really, I
No,
didn't. And
I
she's
was
like
very
nasty with it. She's not
I
even
was
like,
supportive of her.
right. Like,
I liked how she was telling
I did
Rachel's
too. I really
side.
did too. Like,
I
I
was
don't
gonna
even know what
work with
happened,
her.
man.
I don't either. It was when Ryan and I split and she became a whole different person, and I don't understand. But that's when Christy and Gypsy reached out to her, and that's when she
Right.
changed. But
Right.
how are you gonna sit up? How are you going to sit up there, do a 2-hour live between two people that know jack nothing about the
Mm-mm.
chromosome disorder, and take all of my research that I
Yeah.
freaking even use the same pamphlet and shit that I put out there to,
Yeah.
of reference,
I mean, she
and
did
then
credit you, I will
oh
say, in
no
that
no no,
video.
I was gonna
She
say,
redeemed
it,
herself in that video for me. She gave you credit, and yeah, I was
no
like, wow, that was
no
cool.
no no, she gave me credit, told people she understood why I was a little
Yeah.
and then the next sentence out of her mouth was, if you want to talk to me about this, I'm ready to do interviews. I'm great. I can explain it all to you.
Yeah.
Message me. And I was like, you fucking bitch.
Yeah.
You literally just tried to take my freaking thing, mine and
Research and
Colleen's
everything,
thing.
yes.
And instead of saying Fancy is the one who found, Fancy found this, you guys should hear her out. I think I just wanted to make sure that the information got out there. No, what does she do? She literally fucking tells them to message her and she'll do the interviews. Like, what the fuck do you even know about it?
I'm gonna watch that, Susie. Yeah, absolutely. She
Exactly,
did know
Stephanie.
about it. She and that's just the whole thing. It just I don't know if it's the immaturity. I don't know what it is. The cattiness. I really thought she was better than that. And when I hear her say things like, you need to put that in your applesauce, like taking your meds, you know what I'm saying? That's just, dude, you're making fun of somebody. I don't care. You can paint this shit any way you want. It's still shit. It's still
Yeah.
shit. You don't say stuff like that. So I don't really have a whole lot of respect for people who want to make fun of somebody who they know has mental health issues.
Well, and if she was going to give me credit, she should
Absolutely.
have done so at the beginning of
Mhm.
that video, not at the end in a half a sentence.
No, yeah,
Sorry.
I mean,
No, that was, I think they're right. That was an out because everyone knew that was my research. Everyone. And I sure as shit, if she had not given me credit,
yeah,
I
this
would
is
have come
good.
for her. So
Mhm.
she waited until she gave all the information like it was her own. So people who don't watch to the end don't hear her give me credit and think, oh, Nina broke this case wide open. No, fuck you. No, she did not. I did.
No.
Colleen did.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then
It's okay,
for
Kathy.
everyone to do what they've done to Colleen just fucking pisses me off.
And I'm not
Just
even saying, like,
fucking
I don't
pisses me
hate
off.
on her. It's not even about that. She
I don't
doesn't
have a
matter that
feeling
much
towards
to
her at
me
all.
for me to hate her. I just would rather not associate with her or support her or because she's somebody else. I thought she was somebody, she's the beauty influencer. I thought she was about supporting women. I thought,
Yep.
Seriously, I really did. And no, you're not. You're not. You're
No.
catty. And no,
No.
I just don't want nothing to do with her. That's
I
just
don't
where I'm
either.
at.
I don't have any feelings towards her other than the fact that I think she's a jerk. Like, you're a
Yeah.
jerk. I don't have a feeling for you. I don't have hate for her. I don't have
No.
love for her. I don't have animosity. What am
No.
I supposed to be jealous of? I'm not jealous of her because what the fuck
No.
am I jealous of? You
No.
can't
There's
even make your own
no.
fucking content. You got to take everyone
Mm-mm.
else's. Like, she took the freaking whole thing about the back tattoo and made that her own and pretended like it wasn't hers. And then, oh, by the way, there's the comment of who
Yeah.
actually did this down here. No, fuck you. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
She snapped at Charlie. She snapped at, do I support Kate Marie?
Every
No.
time I pop in somewhere, I'm
She's
hearing her
yelling.
yelling.
She's fucking yelling.
Like, where did this come from? Like, what is going on? Like I said, like, honest to God, I really truly hope. Like, I don't
There's
wish
a
bad.
lot of
I
mean
don't
girl
wish bad.
energy.
I don't wish bad. Like I said, I'm not hating on her. I would never wish bad on anyone.
No, I just wish that she would get her own content.
I just wonder, like, what's going on, dude? Why are you
And
so
I wish
upset
that she
all
would
the
stop
time?
making
She's
fun
very,
of people.
very angry a lot.
Yeah.
Very angry a lot.
Yeah. It's not the same Nina we saw at the beginning of the year.
No.
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 That Nina was
It's all getting to her.
classy. Yeah, I do too. I think it's all gotten to her.
Mhm.
I mean, I agree that Bree is out of line if Bree called her job and got her fired. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. For sure. I think that's fucking disgusting. But I am not a person who will call out one person and not call out the other for being just shitty.
No. No.
You know? I think Bree was 100% out of line. I think it's terrible that she did that to her. I would never have done that. I don't go real life on people.
No.
I just don't do that.
Yeah. Like, seriously? That.
But that's what they tried to do.
That's like I said, I don't care enough about these people to do something like that. That's why I can't wrap my head around that.
Like I said, what do I do when I don't like you or don't want to watch you? I turn you off.
I stay away from you.
I block you.
Yeah.
Why do you think I block everyone? Do you think I
so
block everyone
easy.
because I want to just block people? Because I want an echo chamber around me? No. I block people because I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
Why would I argue with someone
right.
that is not worth arguing with?
It's not like, oh, you block people because they have different opinions. No, you get blocked because you're disrespectful
and rude.
What you're saying.
And if you're not my audience, why would I be talking to you?
Why do we need you here? Like, I have no problems with it. Like, seriously,
right.
Bye.
Bye.
If I was having a party at my house and somebody was being a dick, bye. You can leave now. Bye.
You can get out. Stow yourself to the fucking door, or I will show you to the door.
Like, I don't get that, but okay. Okay. And I
you want to go home or you want to go to...
I won't go into it. I won't go into it because I'll go into it and I don't want to.
I know.
So I'm just going to be quiet.
Yeah. But I do think that this case, the Menendez case, is going to be the next really big thing in the media and social media. And I'm here for it. And I welcome it because I think not only is it going to knock Miss Queen Jip Jip and Queen Christie off their little high horse and
little pedestals.
After little pedestals, I also think that perhaps the media might finally see the comparisons and
Hopefully.
How it's not, one is not the same.
Right? Wake up.
Because one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Yeah. Yeah. And real abuse victims, we recognize what she is.
That's right. And we stand with you.
Yep.
We stand with real abuse victims. I mean,
yeah.
It's a comfort when you know you're not alone. It really is. It's a comfort to know that somebody else knows exactly what I've been going through. Someone else knows. I can talk to this person about it, what have you. I mean, that's what I'm about. I'm about taking what has happened to me in my life and giving it value by being able to help someone else. You know what I'm saying? That's what being an advocate is.
Susie, I like what you're talking about. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'd love it if you would email me at tipsforgoodways@gmail.com and tell me what exactly you're meaning here, because I think I know what rabbit hole you're going down, but I want to know. So anyway, Oprah was a
Yes.
shocker for you, not a shocker for me. Nah. I've thought Oprah was horrible since the 80s. So I was never an Oprah supporter.
I wasn't, and the only reason why I'm not shocked was because, you know, what happened with R. Kelly, and then you see Bill Cosby, and then, Weinstein, and then freaking
You sit here with all these pictures
and
with
all this
Weinstein
and
and
that,
Epstein and all of them.
Oh, thanks, Stephanie. But I'm saying, like, what was I saying? I saw that compliment.
Oprah
That was
not
very
being a
nice.
shock.
What I will be shocked about is if they hold the people accountable. You know, that's what would shock me.
Yeah.
If they actually hold all these people accountable, then I'll be shocked. But
Yeah.
the people that they're bringing in, I'm just not shocked anymore. Just because, like, I've just learned, and I loved her. I loved Oprah. I did. I was like, and I know you didn't, but I did. And I thought, girl, you know, you fought against everything. They told you wouldn't be anything. They said you were too ugly. They said you were too fat. You know,
For
what have
sure.
you.
I respected all of that, but I just thought she was a shitty person. I've thought
And
it for a
it
long
was
time.
just admirable to me. And then I thought she was doing good things. And I would, but then, yeah, I started learning more and more. And I started backing away from her. And now I'm disappointed more than I am shocked. I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I'm disappointed.
That wasn't the one that disappointed me. The one that disappointed me was Tom Hanks. That broke my heart.
Too.
That one broke my heart.
Yeah.
That one was like, are you kidding me?
These people, yeah, that's another one. That whole thing. We need to do a Diddy one. Because that whole thing, holy hell.
Yeah, we still got to do a Diddy one, and we need to do a follow-up on Quiet on the Set shit too. So,
yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, guys. Well, it's 11:41, which I had planned on only being on here till 11. Anyway, all right, guys. Thank you for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives. Make sure that you check out the goodwivesnetwork.com, where you can find our blogs, a lot of the other kinds of things we do, our merchandise, and you can get signed copies of my books. I can't believe I get to say books. Books. And have a good one from the Good Wives. Serving up true crime. One dish at a time. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.